some reason, it is impossible seemingly for them to admit that.
Why, hello, everyone.
We are going
That's
then.
us.
Hello! Right.
Yep.
Fribbin? What? Sure, Frib's now a word. We're live, and there's some shit to talk about.
Yep, there's plenty. There is plenty. I was just doing a last little check. But yeah, everything is great. And
Yep, turns out 9.1.5 is on the PTR. So that's what we're talking about there. I've been playing through some of the Realm Reborn patch content, which has actually been quite fun. And also we have 500,000 secret project things to do in 6 weeks that is absolutely turning us into the definition of stress and fun. So it's fun.
Yep. All good stuff. All good stuff. Just plenty to do. Plenty to do. Busy. That's
Yeah,
right.
indeed. So first thing to talk about, I think, patch 9.1.5. We should probably just hop into it. Because
absolutely.
There's some interesting things afoot, everyone. So let's kick it off. All right,
Go for it.
9.1.5 obviously is a thing. It is on the PTR. In the last stream, we talked about Blizzard's initial announcement of it. Since then, there were a few updates, though. They basically just had a big blue post confirming the likes of Legendary Scrapping, Legion Time Walking being a thing, improved Group Finder, Threads of Fate changes, Void Elf changes, PvP ranks, Honor Gear scaling, some quality of life features, stuff like that. Also, the PTR is actually out. Things have been data mined. So what I think we should do is first talk about the new data mining. Then we should talk about the new business model between WoW and Hearthstone. And then maybe just a quick rundown of the other 9.1.5 stuff so that people are, are aware of what's going on.
Yep, it is certainly interesting having actually logged into the PTR, and even though a substantial amount of stuff that they have announced isn't in this build, it's still, there's so much in the build that's like smaller things to look at and play around with that is actually quite nice. The entire setup is substantially better than I remember previous PTRs being. And to be fair, I wasn't on the 9.1 PTR all that much, but it's, you can log in. It's just there are NPCs everywhere taking you to some different places, selling you everything you're liable to need within reason. So it is, well put together.
Nice. And that especially has been a problem with past Shadowlands PTRs because, all the people trying to do like class and conduit testing in 9.1 and that being fun. So supposedly that's better. All right. We should talk about the new stuff. Number 1. Would you like to know a possible release date for patch 9.1.5? Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be, but we shouldn't necessarily put a massive amount of stock into this.
Of course.
For sure. But the next Time Walking event is scheduled for November 2nd. And it ends November 16th, lasting 2 weeks. Blizzard told us that Legion Time Walking, the first time it comes out, would last for 2 weeks. Now that's in the in-game calendar. So does that mean that patch 9.1.5 will be out by the 2nd of November 2021? Well, patch 9.0.5 lasted 1 month on the PTR from February 9th to March 9th. However, while 9.1.5, I think, it's a 0.5 patch, but it's way larger than 9.0.5. Way larger. So, I would not at all be surprised if this patch had roughly a 2-month PTR, maybe a little smidge faster, and maybe it comes out a week before the Legion Time Walking, and bam, you get that. So, late October is when I'm going to say I think this patch will come out. I think it could be late October. But if I was going to say something, I think it would be that, especially because this is a patch that really doesn't seem like it's got, other than the Legion stuff, content.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of content, it's the Legion stuff that is the thing to do. But, it's not like how in Battle for Azeroth we had 0.5 patches unlock storylines, like with 8.1.5 that brought us all of that Crucible of Storms lead-in content. That stuff doesn't seem to be happening here. This is, I think, straight up systems and changes, which is absolutely, unfortunately, that is a step down over what we got in BFA. And BFA was a step down over what a 0.5 patch was in Legion. So that's obviously a downside, but I think it's a state where Legion needs both content and systems. If we can't have them both in a patch, we may as well have smart reuse of content that's going to create gameplay that will feel novel to people and, systemic changes that we should have had at launch. But hey, I'll take them. Absolutely.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, I will definitely engage in Legion time walking at least a little bit because I love Legion Mythic Plus quite a lot. Although doing it as Holy Paladin instead of Prop Paladin will be weird. But I think that this patch to me is more of a dry run for 9.2. That's how I'm kind of thinking about it. That's how I'm treating it. I'm thinking, will this let me get ults up to speed if I do want to play something other than Holy Paladin in 9.2? Because I've not been having the best time. It's a great spec, but I've not been having the best time personally in Sanctum. So this is basically a dry run for 9.2 as far as I'm concerned. And I really, really hope that this 2-month PTR period, if it is going to be ultimately a 2-month PTR, that it gives lots and lots of time for feedback. Because 1 month, basically, given how they roll out features, doesn't give much time. But 2 months is fine. And I think with the idea that they're actually listening now, or at least attempting to listen more than before, then this is the perfect time for everyone to jump in and go, hello, please, this is what we genuinely think, this is what we feel, can we have some movement and shaking in and around the stuff?
And it's going to be a painful time for Blizzard because they're making good moves here, but at the same rate, I can't forget about the past. So, like Ian, I had a tweet reply to Ian that was basically, but that whole Covenant power thing is a load of bullshit. You could have had your cake and ate it too at launch, and everyone would have been happier. Just that thing. Nobody really seems to buy the excuse and the wording that they had. Ian had a tweet saying the wording wasn't ideal or whatever in that blue post.
Well, that's true.
But it's been interesting because even say Josh Augustine, who's coming off, I think, very, very well on Twitter. It
certainly is.
And you look at the replies, and so many of them are just like, well, yeah, we don't believe you. We don't trust you. You didn't listen to us for years. Why should we think you will now? And I think it's just going to be a very interesting thing, that sudden realization, probably for a lot of people at Blizz, where they're actually doing the right thing. They're really trying, and maybe this will reinforce how much faith they really lost in the players. Where I really don't think 9.15 is going to be enough. I think we need to see the same attitude for 9.15, 9.2, 9.2.5, and 10.0. And then if 10.0 is good, then people could possibly be actually won back. But till then, it's how can you trust these? I think for a lot of people's point, it's how can you trust some of their statements and their things when, up until recently, Ian was doing an interview with Breach, defending loads of this shit. Which, even it's that weird thing where maybe they're painted into a corner. If I remember correctly, Ian kind of defended the old school, the consumable conduits in his interview with me. And then a week after it was changed. So it's just that weird thing of it's a very long road to earning back people's respect. I'm glad they're doing all of this. But it's just interesting seeing them tweeting and, even our videos, which, they've been covering what has been happening. What has been happening is obviously positive. And even with me including a lot of, people's concerns and skepticisms, I'm still getting comments saying, your 9.1.5 videos, all chill. I'm getting some comments of that. And, a lot of other comments are well, these are all great changes, but sorry, too little, too late, or sorry, don't trust them. It was you said, I remember you sent me a message in Slack after we published that one yesterday. And it's just yeah, man, wow. This is a first step. It's a first step, but the foot is still in the air and it's yet to be planted. right, and where it's going. And even even at that early stage, there's still a lot of skepticism out there.
Yeah. Well, I actually have. This is something about the date because a lot of people have been mentioning. And just to clear up one question, when I was talking about Prot and Holy, it was I played Prot Paladin in Legion, so going back to that as a different spec would be weird. That's what I meant. But people are saying about November. What other big MMO events happening in November? Gee, I wonder. Final Fantasy
Couldn't be Endwalker now.
going to the moon. So we're going to the moon on the 19th for early access and the 23rd for actual full access.
Oh, they'll have to do this before.
So that's the thing. This patch is, obviously it's preliminary that event's set up there, but it is set up there. It is set to run 2 weeks. So someone was playing with it. Someone manually put that in. Obviously they know it'll be looked at. So it doesn't mean anything. But the point is that if they are actually planning to release this late October, then that means they have nothing to directly compete with Endwalker. And I think that is a telling sign of Blizzard going, we can't compete.
You literally
Yeah,
can't.
we can't compete. We need to have people playing our game, giving feedback, seeing what Legion Time Walking's like before they all go play other game.
Yeah, in my opinion, the best way the Blizzard developers can serve the World of Warcraft player base is to give them a sampling of a good experience and a positive future, and then let them go and play another game that right now is, I think, is just going to be more fun in almost every level because they screwed the pooch with Shadowlands. Like, I don't think it's a controversial thing to say that Endwalker probably will be better than Shadowlands.
I mean,
right?
it would take a miracle for it not to be.
Yeah, right. So in that case, don't try to strong arm in people into doing, just admit where you are. In which case, like, and I don't really say this as a slight, if this is the case that it's, time walking up until, okay, it does clip the early access for Endwalker, but, it's before.
It doesn't if it's 2 weeks.
Early access is the 19th?
Yeah, the 19th, yeah.
Okay, so if it's very much just, hey, log in, here's a bunch of excellent changes, here's Legion Time Walking, have a blast with it, that's really all we've got, so you go play Endwalker if you want, or whatever, Guild Wars or anything.
Yep.
And then let the people come back whenever patch 9.2 is there, because it's far better that people have a lot of fun in another MMO. The last experience, the last memory they have of playing WoW is a more positive one. That means whenever 9.2 gets announced and stuff, people will be sort of more able to engage with it in a way where, more positive.
Yeah, and I think that obviously, okay, you can say that we'll talk about both of these topics individually later, but one topic is the Hearthstone business model where they're going 6 month subs now. It gets so much more. So there is that, which does.
I try to divorce the devs from the biz.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of like overall Blizzard approach because I imagine the marketing people had a say in a release date as well. I imagine they had all these conversations among multidiscipline teams. So there is that angle of there is the strong arming coming from that aspect, but there's also it seems that based on a couple of other things around the other bundles that we've seen data mined, is that they're not actually they're going to wait until they have a strong foot to put down before they push it again, which means I think they kind of know, because obviously you'll have 6 month subs starting to expire, from around June time, by around December time, but then at least as far as we can tell, the next things they have planned are around February time or late January, which kind of means they are. I feel like there's a little bit of them going, no, we have to behave for a second here.
Yeah,
maybe
late Jan Feb is what it's awful. Yeah, that 9.2 is this goddamn late.
Yeah,
but we're thinking late January, February for 9.2.
Yeah, which I mean, I think considering how this patch actually goes, like you say, the content is Legion Time Walking. That ends before Endwalker comes out. That ends in the middle of November, which means when does 9.2 PTR come up? Does it come up January? Does it come up, early December, something like that? Maybe not because of working over Christmas or stuff like that.
See, that's a really large problem because 9.2 is going to have a 2 month PTR and...
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look, there's a chance we're not dealing with... I actually think there's a reasonably high chance we're not dealing with 6 months between major patches, or 7 months like we would have been used to in the past with, a patch in between. If this is going to be more an 8 or 9 month affair, let's just say it's an 8 month, because... Yeah, well, let's just say it's an 8 month for this patch, in which case 29th of June was 9.1.
Yeah, I believe
So basically end of June. So, maybe it's late Feb or March. Because, as you say, yeah, if PTR comes out like the 3rd of January, assuming they don't make PTR, I mean, what would be ideal is PTR late November, because then you could at least be a little bit more close to a Visions of N'Zoth style cadence. But given that the 9.15 PTR was so late after the 9.1 release, as compared to the PTR cycle of the Legion expansion, that does make me think it's a little bit longer of a wait.
And
Interesting to puzzle out.
And honestly, the longer the wait, the better. Because I will, as a consumer, I will not tolerate them throwing stuff that's not finished again. The next time we get a patch that releases like 9.1 does, I will cut all of my involvement into the game likely until they can seriously improve. Because I kind of like personally 1 foot out the door at the minute.
It's like Blizz people. If you thought we were a little bit harsh on you for the launch date of 9.1, you don't even know what harsh is. If 9.2 ends up being just of a similarly low quality, I would say in terms of 9.2 needs to have better content than 9.1, absolutely. But yeah, we need things like our raid team not having probably like 80 minutes or between 60 and 80 minutes of wipes on Fatescribe because lag means that the things don't work while people in our raid group have the floor despawn. Like, you just can't release that again and ask for people's money, right? So yeah, fuck it. Like, there's with there being so many other games to play. Right, you let us play Endwalker, and we'll give you a few more months at 9.2 to make sure it's really ready.
Basically, yeah.
And you know what? Maybe we'll just have to take a whole bunch of stakes and pitchforks and torches and take them to whatever corporate overlords would have you, pump the patch out early. Now, that said, if the patch was always going to be a Q1 2022, calendar 2022, then, it gives them anywhere between January and March. Yeah. Right? So, second half of March, I would support second half of March for a 9.2 because that would give them more time. They evidently needed it based on patch 9.1, which itself was late anyway. Yeah. So they definitely need more time. I hope they can push for that. And if it falls within the same quarter and a patch performance is... you could maybe even argue that spreading the launch bump of a patch out over 2 quarters would be super ideal for the business types. So maybe there's even a reality where what's best for the players, given that they really need to hit a higher level of quality of release than with 9.1, maybe it's better for both players and investors if it's later on in Q1 2021.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the that's one of the things that I find interesting about the release date of 9.1. They absolutely hit it on the last feasible day of Q2.
They did, yeah.
Which, if someone logs in on the last day of June and then the first day of July, then they are 2 MAUs. Yeah. Or, technically, they're not, because the way they represent MAUs is average over 3 months usually, as opposed to, you don't count directly. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're split across 2 of those months, which means you're just they get to use you as a number because they released it a little bit early. So it's a case of, as you're saying, makes more sense. Makes more sense.
Yeah, so that's some thoughts on release dates and what should happen. I think what we need is systems to be good, and then we need the level of polish and quality to be good. On the server side, I have noticed improvements. They did make their big post about that. Yep. The most recent time I went to fight the world boss, it actually worked. Now, the frame rate wasn't great, and there was 1 or 2 things felt odd, but it worked way better than the previous times where I did it, where the game was literally unplayable. Yeah. You could barely get a spell off because, you'd hit the button, nothing would happen, and they would all just chunk up. So, if those server issues are fixed, and they get a little bit longer than normal to actually dial in the quality of execution of this patch, because I think 9.1 suffered from both quality of ideas and quality of execution. So if we can, if we finally knocked it into their head that a lot of their ideas are bad, regarding shards of domination, and they don't make those mistakes, they have a little bit more time for quality of execution, and then whatever server-side changes they made that they recently discussed regarding Sylvanas, if those are then made, then, I don't know if it's copium talking, but maybe that has us, going in a better direction. That's totally what we want.
I think there is a low level of copium going on in general with these changes, because, they've basically pumped copium into the water supply in an extent. Not to say it's like entirely in like a negative sense, but it is literally like, call copium, call it a very, very vague sliver of hope, possibly, but who knows? Who knows what it is?
They've tried to put a lot in, and we've all had a resistance built up to it because of the amount of betrayal we've experienced from the team.
That's exactly it.
Over the last, over the last two expansions.
I think one last note on the to see people bring it up in chat. 9.2, if it releases in March, there's decent incentive for the marketing team to let that through as well, because that's around when FF6.1 will drop. So they've got that thing of, we maybe can't fight Endwalker release with 9.1.5, obviously, but maybe, just maybe, if 9.2 is good enough, it'll grab some people from 6.1. As to whether that's true, have to see, but it's a way for them to look at it.
We're also fairly sure 9.2 will be the final, because they're making these patches so slow, and with the interim patches, not the major ones, having less content than they did in Legion, that really, like, if there is a patch 9.2.5, I mean, can you see that being anything other than an epilogue to Shadowlands? I mean, not that they bothered to do an epilogue with Battle for Azeroth, of course. So, it's kind of tricky, but I don't see there being a 9.3, because if there's a 9.3, then that's probably going to be 6 to 9 months. Maybe, let's just say 6. Let's be charitable and say they got the problem solved. Well, that'll be 6 months after, probably February, March. So then you're getting into the back half of 2022. At what point, or at that point then, like, when's the next expansion? Does Shadowlands end up being, of like
2.5 years, like
2.5 years, or maybe even more? Who knows? Because what Blizzard very much seemingly wanted is, launch in August, major patch the following August, and then, expansion launch the next August, because August 2016, Legion. August 2018, BFA. Shadowlands got delayed. Shadowlands patches, they've kind of thrown the whole thing off kilter. I mean, even at that, there's just about no way that they'll have that August thing again.
Not a chance.
No, like, pretty much not a chance, because, if this patch comes out in February, what do we then expect? Do we expect the patch to come out like sometime in February? Then BlizzCon line happens, then immediately it's beta, and somehow we crunch out the fastest beta ever. So, I'm still thinking it's going to be October, November 2022 for 10X.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost at the point where Genshin Impact will have an entirely new, like, first number version every time we get a World of Warcraft patch. Which, isn't technically true, but it's
depressing.
They're like, because
Genshin Impact has a team that is way larger than the World of Warcraft team.
Substantially larger. I think, what was it I saying to you the other day? Like 700, I think they've grown to this team size too.
It was 700 at a point, but I think it's larger now.
No, it was started off at like 100, 200, then it went to 400. I think it was up to 700 after that. 700 by February 2021. No, you're right. So it's probably bigger since.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because that actually reminds me of talking about February in general. I feel like February is a very, very bad time for World of Warcraft to make any moves.
Actually true.
Because now I just realized someone said there are other games at MMOs. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about all of those games. And February is a fucking bloodbath.
Horizon.
Saints Row. Well, I mean, Saints Row might be. We'll see how that goes. But there is like basically everything that could make this year has been shifted in around January, February. I mean, Elden Ring in January. That's playtime through to March for a lot of people as well.
Yeah. So that's dates and times. Pretty interesting to figure through, and I imagine there's a bit of me that imagines they've had many meetings about this, but also it seems so obvious what they would be able to do with the time they've got that, I feel like it's 9.2 and Shadowlands. Ideally give people a 9.2.5 with an epilogue, because seriously, that's really important for a story. We can't just kill in the south and get 72 gold again. And then probably, a decent bit into the latter half of next year for 10X. So, that's dates. Next up, store items, because Do these store items, in fact, tell us what the new expansion is going to be? Is it going to be World of Warcraft, Elune and stuff, and the Moonwalker? Moonraker? World of Warcraft Moonraker. Let's go.
Yep. So I actually have one little thing to maybe preface this with, and I didn't even know I should bring it up because it's technically slightly unfair. But I think everyone in the guild found it funny, and a lot of people find it funny. So I'll go with it. So this was picked up during data mining, but there was a bug in the software that they were using to data mine, and initially that image of all the bundles was exported with an 180 hue shift.
So that's why they look like that.
So all of what the images first looked like was recolors. They had the orange sky, they had a kind of bluer tint to the grass. The ones at the bottom were very orange.
Yeah.
And everyone saw it and went, oh shit, are they really selling store-made recolors? And people were sort of like, well, this is completely insane. Why would they do this? And then someone on the web stream went, is that just hue shifted? Checked. And then they were like, oh, yep, sorry everyone, that was a bug.
Oh,
and it was
no.
it was like I mean, I think they were worried when it first happened because they had already put a post up, but I think a lot of people found it kind of lighthearted and sort of going, oh yeah, silly things happen. We all sort of got a lesson to not completely jump the gun. So that was that was certainly something.
It's interesting. They've got a 180 day. That's not what a 180 day game time logo, and that's a 6-month sub logo.
Yeah. Well,
that's interesting because a lot of people are frustrated that I believe if you buy 6 WoW tokens and then redeem them for sub, you don't get the 6-month mount because the mount is really there to get people in a recurring bundle, right? So it's like, oh, whoops, I forgot about that subscription and I just bought 6 months non-refundable. Uh-oh. Whoops. Yeah.
No, I think the one thing is this is obviously, I think that they're actually referred to in the BLP names as Lunar New Year, because that's when we know it's timed. And if you don't just believe that, obviously moon relation, Lunar New Year. But also, I don't remember what the other ones looked like, but you see the red tone to the background. That is what essentially every Lunar New Year decoration I've seen is specifically that kind of color and shade of red. Because I know my housemate Diggy gets a lot of pockets that color full of money.
Of course, yeah.
So
there's that. Then when we go here, so up here, this is just a mount bundle.
Yep.
Right. So a mount bundle. To the bottom right, of course, Sprite Darter themed mount bundle. To the bottom left, well,
Celestial Steed.
Steed.
I can't remember. Argy.
And then a new transmog, right?
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. See this Fey Dragon, right? This Fey Dragon came out during Mists of Pandaria.
So it did.
And then we traveled to Draenor, and we found a place called the Dracorium, where these dragons are being, bred and trained and stuff. Bit scum. Actually, not just a bit scum. Extremely scum. Screw that. Ripping content out of your next expansion to sell it to us now. I mean, fuck that. But to continue the point, this is the Cloud Serpent rig.
So it is the hard.
Came out at the end of Cataclysm. Obviously did a little bit of a pre-tease of the Cloud Serpents in the following expansion, Mists of Pandaria. Now this, Silvarian Dreamer. When did it come out exactly? That was the end of BFA, right?
Yep, Silvarian Dreamer. Yep.
Was that the end? Well, it came out in BFA anyway.
Yes.
Does look a little bit Ardenwieldy if you compare some of its stuff to it's also the Vulpine one, was it called?
I can't remember.
It's one of the more recent store mounts. But there's those ones that, do kind of fit a little bit of Ardenwield. Sort of fit the Elune-ish aesthetic.
Even the idea of being, the Dreamer.
The Dreamer bit. Now, it just does make you think, this rip some ideas out of the future expansion, sell it to us now. A lot of people have been thinking about the most recent 6-month bundle mount. Not the new one, which is like the little mouse. It's not a 6-month bundle, it's just a Hearthstone promo. What am I talking about? Sarge, yeah. No, a lot of people were looking at that and thinking, well, what expansion is this going to be? The cool Hawk mount, or whatever it is. It's really cool, in fairness to them. It's a really nice mount.
Oh, yeah, everyone's saying. The Silvarian Dreamers are literally in Ardenwield. They're in Mist of Tyrannus as well.
Yeah, right. So this was given to us in BFA, and it was ripped from this expansion, because, you know, really you should be able to earn this thing in game. And it's whenever, you know, people talk about, oh, why do people have a problem with store mounts? It's when it obviously is just a mount from the next expansion, but not in that expansion, actually right now and on the store. And then when that expansion comes out, not obtainable. Now, if this pattern, which has pretty much happened for every expansion, is going to continue, right? If that's going to continue, then we have to think about this. The new birdish looking Articuno, basically the Articuno mount, that's the most recent store bundle. We then need to think about, you know, this new transmog piece that is all moon related. So is this a tie-in to the current story with Elune? Or, as some people speculate, is this, like with how they yank mounts from the future expansion, is this them yanking some gear they made, you know, maybe an NPC set or something from the next expansion, and putting it on the store now as a part of this bundle? In which case, between Articuno, or wherever it's called in-game, and this thing...
Sapphire Skyblazer?
Yes, between the Sapphire Skyblazer and this, like, do we have at least a bit of a hint that there's a Loonish business going on in the next expansion, maybe?
Almost certainly. I mean, the one thing is the Sapphire Skyblazer came out of nowhere, and there was the data mined, the opposite version, the orange version, that was not blue. It was, you know, obviously the orange, the blue and orange movie poster opposites, etc. But the thing that intrigues me about this specifically is that it's, you know, you say, is it a tie-in to the Elune storyline? Could conceivably be that, but in no way aesthetically is it, in terms of the details of the aesthetics. None of that looks Ardenwealdy in any sense.
True, yeah. It does look
yeah.
way more Night Elf High Priestess amped up.
Yeah.
More cosmic-y, amped up, sort of.
Yeah, so it looks like it's, like we've seen with the other ones, it is a full, not just theme, but also aesthetic that we're yet to encounter. So we'll see, you know, maybe some elf-like race that aren't our elves worship Elune in 10.0, and they'll be wearing stuff like that. I was going to say I wouldn't put it past them. I kind of mean that. Also, it wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, I think fun, because a lot of Night Elf players do not trust them with any Night Elf lore anymore, because they, you know, the lore team, they, in the same way that they burnt through the old gods and kind of ruined them with Nasoth, they risk burning through Elune and kind of ruining her. So watch out, guys.
Oh, could you imagine the sheer suffering? The sheer suffering if I think end of this expansion with Elune being sorted, like in the way
that people, because you remember the initial reaction to the Shadowlands cinematic had loads of dislikes.
Yeah,
like loads for an expansion reveal, other than of course Mop, because, you know, with Mop people are like, whoa, what? Kung Fu Pen? You know, the whole Bolvar being wrecked thing, like, I got a lot of people. You know, if they have, like, if they, you know, go and announce their new expansion at a BlizzCon, and it's all, you know, Elune stuff, but it feels like the new cosmic version of that, and it ends up, you know, not really honoring the history of Elune in the game world, like the history of, you know, like Musha and Anshe and all of that. Can you imagine?
I'd rather not, genuinely. I would rather not imagine it, because if I have to think about it in any capacity, I will lose my marbles. Personally, I've loved the Tauren stuff, the Night Elf stuff, since I first played a Tauren. And, I know a lot of people do feel betrayed at storyline stuff. I feel like, so far, I've been relatively safe. But if they decide to... Well, okay, I did feel it whenever Elune spoke through Tyrande, and didn't seem to make that much sense. But if they actually ruin it, I will join the legions of Night Elf players who are, you know, screaming for vengeance. I will join them in the realm of, I'm really dissatisfied with how you've done this story that I've loved for years. Like,
yeah, well, I wonder, you know, we're getting some of the feedback is sinking in game systems.
Yeah,
I have a feeling it's going to be quite a bit harder to get feedback to sink in on lore. So that will be very very interesting. I mean, especially given that the reception to the lore has, you know, it's only went downwards since, other than the Sarfang sort of little short film being nice. Yeah. Other than that, the reception of the lore has kind of universally went downwards, I think. Other than having some nice parts, you know, it's the whole that they've struggled with. So, yeah, interesting. And I do wonder if this indicates an Elune-ish expansion. To be honest, if this is, look, you see this, right? if this is in the context of, oh, we're going to the Lifelands, we're going to find out that Elune and Aenar are actually long-lost cosmic lovers, and we're going to do some, crazy story that basically has nothing to do with what got any of us into Warcraft as an IP, then I'd be pretty disappointed. But if this was, some cool stuff going on in relation to a restoration of the Night Elf people, finding them a new home, content like that, that's very Azerothian content and very much, picking up the pieces and solving problems and, smaller, more human stories, then I'm pretty down with all of that. Mm-hmm. Because, that is what I want to see from a future Night Elf story. So I hope they deliver that, and I hope this is a part of something that overall is a good bit more grounded than the Shadowlands expansion was. And certainly, if something like Shadowlands happens again, r/WoW is going to be even more sad. Because they're not the happiest bunch from what I can tell. So, yeah, right. There we go. And as for the rest of it, this is Stormount stuff and transmogs in-game and, that ship's long sailed. Yeah. Ship's long sailed.
Yeah. Fight battles you can conceivably win, not battles you've already lost many times over.
That may indeed be the thing.
As sad as that is to think about, it's sort of true at this point.
Next thing then, new Druid travel forms. And this is actually some cool stuff. So, there is the Sable Arden Moth or whatever it's called. Yep. Yeah, Arden Moth. And then the Shimmering Arden Moth. So, there's 4 new Druid forms that are coming, and there's 2 color tints for each. Travel forms. Now, being able to be a moth as your travel form, that's really nice. Cool. Yep. Duskwing Raven is this guy, so you got to be a Raven, which, a lot of people would find that to be cool, given Atish, and all of that.
Khadgar reference, is he here?
Yeah, well, there you go. So, yeah, we got some birds. We have got Dreadbat, which will appeal to some people. Less my cup of tea. Honestly, I am more just a fan of the things that are kind of traditionally pretty. So there's that. And then for a ground one, we have got the Twilight Runestag. So not only can you basically earn this as a mount, you can also be that, which also is pretty cool. And now that I think about it, look, if you have these assets and they make sense for a Druid character, let them have it.
Yeah.
Let them have it. It's going to fit well. And certainly with Druids, they give up some aspects of their character having a transmog because they're in a beast form. So if that's going to be the thing, let's give them more beast forms. You're already making loads of beasts anyway.
Absolutely. That's I see someone saying the mage is Raven. I think it's specifically they intend for these to be kind of like a Worgen Druid would make sense as a Raven, because that kind of entire aesthetic is very, very dusky, very Gilneasy in a sense.
Yeah.
So maybe someday Ravens will get or mages will get a Raven form, but I doubt it somehow. But yeah. I think the way to earn these as well is, I believe it's all through inscription. I'm not actually completely sure how to earn the recipes yet.
Oh.
But they are, they aren't just going, fuck it, have these or use anima on them. They have went out of their way to go, okay, learn these via some player engagement mechanics. Some, you can spend gold on them, or you can go and learn them and make them yourself. So they are giving it a little bit more effort than the bare minimum.
That's good.
Yeah, which is, a good precedent to set.
Yeah. So there's that. I think happy days for the Druids. This isn't, something that's nice to have. I don't think people really ask for it, and that's when it's nice to be surprised. So
yeah,
that's good shit.
That's the whole thing. This isn't going to bring people back to the game. This isn't going to cause a massive resurgence of players. But if they only did things that would do that, we wouldn't have any nice stuff.
That's
so
it.
They're filling the game with nice stuff, which is when you go back and it's full of nice stuff, then you're happier.
Exactly. So that's really great to see. Moving on, there's new Night Fae soul shapes. I'll tell you what my opinion is on this. Now, it is, pretty cool, all these critter shapes as well. I do think that's all cool, and then you can see here, Wowhead have got a whole bunch. And I think they can do so many of these because this essentially is just a shader applied on top of a model that already exists, which means that it's very easy to farm these out.
Yep.
As a Night Fae, I would care more about this if it was something that permanently stood to my character. And this is just another example of, this is like a cosmetic version of Borrowed Power. I know I could always use these when I go to the Shadowlands, but because I know I'm not going to be in the Shadowlands forever, I don't really care about earning them. But it certainly is nice to have, and I really like this feature, and it would be cool if there was a way that Blizzard could just give us some way to like use the soul shapes. I don't exactly know how they would do that though.
The only way I can think of is for shamans, maybe. But just because shamans have had the basically the worst end of the stick substantially versus druids when it comes to like the wolf form. I mean, it's a minor thing, but you imagine the text there and go, fuck it, there you go. Have some of your ships, maybe some of them.
It would feel bad if you'd been a hunter and you don't get soul shapes anymore.
Yeah,
so,
but that's kind of thing. It's like it's those problems that I think. Well, are you going to say, well, shamans, sorry, you don't get anything cool because we can't figure out a way to give to everyone else, or they go, shamans, take a couple, take a wee couple, the ones that make sense for a shaman, go ahead. So I get what you mean, but I kind of think it's this thing where, it would make some shamans happy. Other people would maybe feel jealous, but
I would say change the color values of that, just of that shader or material or whatever. Just change it to something else to make it work for the shaman elements. But borrowed power kind of sucks. Borrowed cosmetics are way less of a problem and also really not much of a thing in terms of frequency. But this is like the one time where they kind of are. So some way where we could have these in a bit more of a permanent basis would be cool. If they could make it, happen, because the thing is, if just everybody has a movement ability with a blink forever, I mean, we can't have that, right? So it would have to be no extra move speed and just a regular thing, or I don't know, share cooldowns with some other movement speed mechanic.
Here's the actual solve. The actual solve is a toy with a very generous cooldown, so people can just use it in rested zones.
Yeah, fair.
It would use the selected one that you have from Shadowlands. So you might have to go back to the Shadowlands to change it if you wanted to. But there you go. Toy used in rested areas. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing then, and this is a bit odd, tier 20 recolors.
Yep.
Now, these look nice because, tier 20 looked really
gorgeous.
nice. It was gorgeous. And, this is a really cool set. We have absolutely, I think, no idea where this comes from. I mean, perhaps Legion Time Walking, it would make the most sense, but, it's not confirmed.
Yeah, I think it's Legion Time. I believe Muffinus tweeted something in a vague tease around that. And I think actually, you know what? Continue. I'll go and check before I say anything bullshit.
Well, you know what? If you could do a whole bunch of Legion Time Walking, get some currency, unlock some of these...
Yeah.
Why not? That would make sense. So there you go. They are rather gorgeous. We just do not know where they come from. And actually, sticking on the topic of transmogs, all we have is
that
D&T Baby Murloc backpack.
Yep.
Of course, Murlocs, BlizzCon. So they're maybe putting that into the game now. Of course, we don't actually know what it looks like, but there you go. Baby Murloc backpack. I think that is that is almost certainly a BlizzCon virtual ticket item that people would totally lap up and get, right? So that's that. And actually, just them doing back transmogs and stuff. It's cool, right? Yep. The more variety we get there, the better.
It's very nice. Okay, I've got it here from Muffinus. So Wohead posted the data mine recolored tier 20 Tomb of Sargeras armor sets. Use the mythic/elite fancy variants. Could these be a reward from Legion Mythic Plus Dungeons? And Muffinus responded with the Garfield picture of saying, I wonder who that's for. So, doesn't mean anything, but...
It's teasing that it's to do with Legion Time Walking for sure.
For sure.
So that's pretty cool. Now what's who knows, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We've got boots. So, is it Simca? Is how you... Keyboard turns the Twitter handle. Mocked up some of the newly data mined boot models that are found in the patch 9.1.5 files. Now, we don't know if we will get these boots or where they come from or anything like that, but we do have boots. There are 7 types: Sabaton, plated, leather, lava, fur, dragon scale, and bone, and they have got loads of recolors. Now, I really like this because I've always have wanted just more plain, simple bits of armor, because I think those bits of armor are just really fun to, mix and match. Because the more that you get hyper-defined and specific with an armor set, then the less likely it's going to, be transmogged with other things because, they won't fit because they're too specific. So a set of generic things like this, I think, is great. And, I mean, man, look at this. Look at this lava boot. That's pretty cool. And this nice leather boots. Some golden boots. You know, just nice transmog opportunities. I mean, hell, look at this recolor, right? Now it's fell. So I wonder. I really have no idea what's going on here. I mean, look at those leather ones. They look cozy. They almost look like shoes you could find at, like a lo-fi version of shoes you could find at a shop.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I feel like if I went to a shop and they sold me shoes that had like rope tied around the ankle instead of laces, I might think this is maybe a little bit, maybe a bit too contemporary for my taste, but...
Hey, blue fire, right? Blue lava shoes.
Blue fire, green fire.
Shit, yeah. So these are really cool. These are really, really cool. We have no idea where they come from, but they're really cool. Maybe we'll get them some way. Who knows? Patch 9.1 added loads of shoulders. This is adding loads of these. Not that these fit with the shoulders, of course, other than maybe the golden boots. Yeah, there's really nothing more to say other than I'm glad these are here, and I hope they actually are usable and go towards something. Now, Legion time walking rewards. So this is stuff you will be able to work for in the new patch, right? That's what a lot of people want. New things to work for, new grinds, new rewards, new stuff. And we have our mount, the Val'sharah Hippogriff. I assume it's just an unused hippogriff. Which, you know what? It's a cool hippogriff. It's not the coolest mount in the world, but I like this hippogriff model. So fair enough having another one. This will, be 5,000 time warped badges, which is a fair few. But of course, the way it works with time warped badges is, every time walking comes, you get the event, the weekly quest that gives you what, 500 is it?
500, yep.
Yeah, it gives you 500. So you just get those over time. Of course, I've always forgotten, meaning that I really should have a lot more time warped badges. Anyway.
No, I'll be able to buy that mount, and it will not be a drop in the bucket compared to how many tokens my main has.
Well, in terms of other things you might be able to buy, weapon transmogs. Now, these I believe are just purchasable.
I don't know, actually.
I saw a Blizzard dev tweet about these. Anyway, they're earnable, we believe. And these are Nightborn weapons. This is not something we really had, and these are gorgeous.
Yeah, people have been asking for these since 7.0, I think.
Yeah, and that is an overall issue with the game. Is there's so much armor, so many tints as well that are in the game files and not accessible to players. Yeah. I mean, take Tazavesh. I think there's in the game files loads of different colors of the weaponry, and I don't think those are actually available in game.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a pity because, those big cool energy swords, people would have obviously want different color variations of that. So they really do need a way to get more of that out. Now, another wild thing, if this isn't a vendor, this might be a bit more expensive, or maybe this is an achievement, but yeah, do you want to recolor to Aegis of Agrimar? Here it is.
Yep, might as well.
I think a lot of people will probably work to earn that.
Yeah, it's a cool shield. Put it on.
Then there's also the Black Rook Hold set recolors. So it's some pretty neat traditional looking armor.
Yeah, I mean, that's fundamentally it. Everyone's like, hello, can we please have some more customization, please? Can we have some more armor, some more transmogs? Like, yeah, here it is.
Yeah.
You've been asking for it. That said, while we're here, actually, I'm pretty sure it's not available in game. Can I have one of the Light Forged Dragoon spears, please? Or sorry, pole arms, please?
That would be so
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, people want those. Then also, these things have been added and flagged as time warped, as found by the Lost Codex. And mostly here it's unused tints from Legion. I think for male it isn't. Yeah, for male, I recognize that one. So that's perhaps what we're going to be getting, recolors from the from doing the dungeon. So, not massive news, but
it's certainly a good precedent.
Certainly good.
Instead of just get the old one.
Yeah. So that's that. I think, as you've noticed, quite a lot of new things to get for your character, assuming this all does make it into the game. Now, for the next thing, something you will not have to earn, we have the new character customization options. So
they are good.
Yes, I think this tweet really captures it. So there is old, there is new. And some people could say that maybe there's a bit of a loss in... sort of softening out the face and stuff, that there is some of that, identity, because I think a lot of people will go for the likes of that, because I think there is a bit more base appeal.
Yeah.
In, sort of face shapes like that. Overall, this is great, because the Nightborn really didn't have a great start in the world. They were the most borked, I think. They were the most borked of the allied races, and it's great to see the Blizzard actually, finally putting the effort in to fix that problem up. So I think that's really good stuff. I'll fall through to the Wowhead article. They have got tattoos, hair decorations, jewelry. So here's some of the new hair colors. We've got some hair decorations, right? So like, big hairband thing. So just quite a lot. All stuff people have wanted. I think there is a disparity where the men don't get as many jewelry, and I don't know about hair, but I think it's jewelry they don't get as much of. But yeah, more hairstyles. We have got some jaw jewelry as well. So all of these things that kind of like build out their culture, make them feel unique. Look at this shit, right? That's getting pretty. It's pushing the concept further, I suppose, right? So that's really cool.
That's the way to put it.
Yeah. Like I like it. It's just more going out there. I like these body tattoos as well. Like that's some cool shit.
Yeah, good addition.
That's some cool shit. So for sure, like this is all great. There's some for the male. The males are getting some tattoos. They're getting some chin decorations. But I do believe when it comes to the jewelry and stuff, they do get less. I mean, damn. Do you want to? I don't know. Do you want to be jaw punched by him? I'll be sore.
Yep.
Spiky jaw. So there you go. They are righting a bit of a wrong. I'm sure there's still a little bit more work to do, but this is absolutely welcome. And I think for a lot of the players, they're very happy to see this. But I mean, look at this shit. It's wild. It's out there. It's crazy. This is actually some facial jewelry options that you can transmog around. And that's oddly rare because like you're say we're Lightforge and there's good stuff coming for us. You got all those cool body tattoos. You never see them because you're wearing gear. So the only way to see your cool tattoos is to run around naked, and that's not really what a lot of people want for their characters transmog.
Yep.
So we got that going on for the Nightborn. Overall great stuff. Then for the Lightforge Draenei, let's click through to that.
This stuff is good.
Yep, so we've got some good shit. So we have got earrings coming in. There they are. Again, very good to see.
It's basically
Some new hair colors.
basically parody with all of the other stuff that the other races got in terms of the way like the Blood Elves have a ton of jewelry that can all be recolored, and it kind of matches the overall thing. They've got largely the same, which is
these
great.
decorations and headdresses, which is also pretty damn nice to have.
Yep. Some of the hairstyles are nice.
We've got some new hairstyles.
Yep, short's pretty good.
So that's also really good to see. Then for the male, we've got a few more of their just hairstyles, general things. Look at this.
Yeah,
I think it looks a bit silly, but it's good to have as an option. What do you do when you've got a Hellboy situation, you've got a cracked, cracked horn? I think this is cool, right? Like little, sort of metal tipped the horns for them. I mean, this shit's all great.
Yeah, they all have different gradations of colors, so you can change the color of the horn jewelry. And I've noticed that there's a couple of literally just going through this on PTR on my character. I was like, okay, not literally on my character because the barbershop wasn't working on PTR, but creating a new character, matching the look and going through. I was like, oh, I can see that color specifically matches with this bit of transmog. This matches with this. So if I'm changing a set, I could go to the barbershop, change the jewelry color, and easy.
Yeah, so it's more, just good stuff to transmog around. Stuff that you'll actually see, like the new horns, like that new jewelry that's coming in for the Nightborn.
Yep.
Overall, this is just great. Now for the Void Elves too, they get ear length customization, so that's pretty good. And actually, large difference in your length options. There they are on the males as well. You have a tentacle toggle. Again, that's great. Some people they want to be a high elf.
Really?
Yeah, no, they made their voices absolutely heard during BFA.
I've not seen anyone say that.
Yeah, so there you go. There's more tentacles, more hair colors, including traditional high elf hair colors. So if you wanted high elves, they are called void elves. They do have void abilities, but visually you can make a high elf. If you wanted that, high elf ranger vibe, you will be able to get it in this new patch.
Just ignore the fact that you've got Spatial Rift and the Entropic Embrace popping and making you a little bit purple every now and again. But, that's all fine.
It is what it is. Customization options, great. Next thing then, we have what maybe seems to be MDI banner toys.
Yes.
So, yeah, when you use it, plant a banner representing your success against the Tormented. That's for Mythic Dungeon International Season 2. So, I suppose they've put this in for the MDI teams, which is really cool. I don't know how players will get this, or if this will be, an award or a reward for the MDI.
Buy it on the shop.
Oh, don't be... Oh, they could totally do it. You buy it in the shop, and then there is, sort of like a pay split thing where it makes the prize pool go up.
Yeah, and
just that they need to actually do that good and proper, not the way they did it with those 2 toys, which got a lot of criticism from the WoW esports community.
Yep.
But they do look cool, as always.
What they do.
Artists do a very good job.
I love how they've got the little hourglass just in the middle to remind everyone, timers, hurry up, quick, go fast.
We've got an odd thing then, a rock and roll racing toy.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. Rock and roll racing. Here it is. It's in World of Warcraft. I kind of wonder how those will work. But yeah, hey, that's neat. So there is that. All right, moving on then. Moving on. We have got mouse overcasting be baked into the game without the need for macros or add-ons.
Yep, so there's nothing about any of this appears anywhere in PTR at the minute. They haven't said anything about it, but that is a data mint string, which means it may not be 9.1.5,
yeah,
but it's certainly something they are seemingly going to add in. I'd like to see someone talk about it from Blizzard's angle, because this is completely and utterly insane. Like, every healer since the dawn of time who's wanted to heal effectively has either had to use click, had to use something like implied target, which hasn't been updated since 2016, so
yeah,
lucky it still works, or fill the macro book with macros. So now it's like, oh yeah, here's this really simple thing that is functionality in the game. We can now just make it default. And you do immediately think, why did you not do this in 2006, in 2008, 2010? But they're doing it.
Yep.
No one's been asking for it. Everyone just accepted what the problem is. So if this is something they're going for, then it shows that almost the same with the dressing room links. It is someone at Blizzard who sat down and went, what can we do to improve the game? Instead of running around trying to put out fires, they've had a bit of a think to go,
yeah,
can we do this? Why not? Seems good. So
yeah, no, that's absolutely good.
I'm extremely, extremely happy with that, because it speaks a lot to how they're thinking about things internally, and also it's a good fucking feature.
Yeah, absolutely. The next thing then is also interesting. A Blizzard Authenticator used for the full use of the LFG tool. That's pretty big. So accounts will now require an attached BNet authenticator to post custom text when listing a group for dungeons, raids, or rated PvP activities. All players may still search for and join other players' groups. Now, the dev notes, group finder that's full of advertisements bothers us as much as it does you, but a challenge we've faced in trying to eliminate those ads is they are often posted by compromised accounts or other throwaway accounts, such that penalties incurred by in-game reporting have not proven to be an effective deterrent. So basically, right, if a bunch of that is coming from like hackable, compromised accounts, well, if you require an authenticator to do custom text, well, accounts with two-factor authentication enabled are generally not hacked compared to ones with 2FA not enabled, especially when it's like this. 2FA, not via text. I mean, not that for this, somebody would compromise your phone carrier in order to get through.
Of course.
By the way, like if something is truly, you really need security, do not use mobile phone authentication via SMS. Do it by an app or do it via physical authentication key. But yeah, basically, this should mean less compromised accounts posting advertisements and bullshit.
Yep, good change.
That is good.
Good change. Is it like systematic change that will address all the problems? No. Did they say that would take time as a difficult solution? Yes. So I'll sort of trust them on that.
Yeah.
But what this means is 9.1.5 going forward, Group Finder will look better, which is a massive user experience improvement.
Absolutely.
So, sweet.
Another interesting thing then is we have playstyle filters of casual, standard, hardcore, and earn conquest. Who knows what the full set will actually be. Also, you can't require a Mythic Plus rating higher than your own. You can't require a PvP rating higher than your own. And for some more strings, PvP rating required and M Plus rating required. So this is Blizzard giving you more tools to just have a more high quality listing, If you're just casually doing an M+8, all you want to do is time the key and move on, great. If you want to +3 it, you're, going big sweaty, well, use the hardcore tag. More filtering options, more things like that. This is great.
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. There's also, speaking of filters, mount journal filters for ground, flying, and aquatic, so that's also quite nice. I think the mount journal, generally, they should polish that up, integrate some of the achievements into it. There's a lot more they could do. Yeah. Mount equipment, we need to use that not to solve problems perceived by developers. We need to use that to create cool new things for people to get and cool new fantasies for mount families, but that's a topic for later. Some other things. Now, this is really good. It doesn't matter humongously, but I think especially for the new players. So these are quest status and error messages, basically, that will have the game actually tell you why something doesn't work.
Which is, extremely valuable to the overall experience of playing the game. Like, it's a minor thing, but it's so close to the experience that it does so much to stop you feeling like you're playing a janky game that hasn't really been fixed too hard since 2004.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the problem of, that failed. You're like, what do you mean?
So it's stuff like you're too low a level, you're too high a level, your reputation's too low for a quest, you don't actually have the required expansion to do a quest. And there's a few other ones as well, person's attempt to share a quest has failed, you are too high, level. Just lots of little things like that will mean the game will be giving people better feedback, so they'll actually understand why something doesn't work. Basically, this will cut down on Googling. And that is a good thing, because you don't want to always be dragged out of a game experience and into a website experience, because that breaks your immersion. So, as much as a text pop-up does break your immersion a bit, it's not as bad as fully yanking you out of the experience.
Yeah, well, it's the idea for especially the sharing quest stuff. Usually you share a quest, what's the experience? They're already on that quest, but they don't get that, they don't see that. So, are you sharing the quest? And especially in a group of, a large group of people trying to do a quest, and they're sharing dungeon quests especially, everyone's like, what's going on? And it's just a point of frustration that happens to new players, returning players, all players, and now they've not fixed it, but they've helped players figure out how to solve the problem or what the problem is, which is should this have been 2005? Yes. Is it now? Yes. Better late than never.
Yep. Other changes, I think nobody will really notice this, but they've changed some achievements to be a bit less edgy. So instead of bros before ho-ho-hos, it is holiday bromance for that one. And then instead of my sack is gigantic, it is now my storage is gigantic. So, no longer a reference to the scrotum. Big.
Good job.
Moving on then.
Yep.
There is some stuff from earlier on this week, a few things happening. So, cross-faction endgame, right? What happens when your friends are Horde, but you want to play with them? Oh, you can't. That's not really ideal if, WoW's populations went down a little bit, some guilds have fallen apart. The more we open these things up, the more potential players you will have. If WoW overall, it isn't, but if WoW was overall 50-50 Alliance Horde, but the Alliance only play with the Alliance, the Horde only play with the Horde, but you then remove that barrier, well, suddenly a lot more people can play with a lot more people. So, this is some tweets. I believe you actually... Is my tweet there? Or no, it was maybe another thread I replied to. So this is from Ian Hazakostas. Now, there is a little bit of context here that even involves Mike Ybarra, who was just saying that, it's Ian and the team that are doing stuff, and he's kind of just listening as a player. He's, of course, the co-lead of Blizz, so it's a bit more than that, but yeah. Now, regarding Covenants, Ian said that we should have been clear in the wording. The rationale wasn't because lore, but rather because the storylines have now converged. The difference in week-to-week experience based on Covenant is much smaller, so now the balance, tips in the favor of flexibility. He says that lore and story, fantasy are extremely important, but it's ideal if they align with gameplay. But if story considerations alone are dictating frustrating mechanics, there's a conflict that we need to resolve in the favor of gameplay, which I honestly think is quite funny, because the whole Covenant thing is a great example of them not resolving the conflict in favor of gameplay. even when the story actually would have supported either way of doing it, because the Covenants, funny enough, are literally all allies and have been since the start.
Yeah.
So, I honestly, I think Ian's dead wrong on Covenants. I think he has been in all the interviews that he's done, and I just literally disagree. And that's that. Fair enough if the WoW team don't want to change. All I would say is do that, didn't want to change. All I would say is, you obviously did that at your own peril, and I think we all know how that ended up in reality.
Yep, it's a thing where I can completely just I can see the logic behind. Oh well, we don't want people to swap in Covenants here and there whenever they're trying to go through a linear Covenant campaign. But again, falls under the same problem, I think, where it's within the box. It is like within the concept of this world where you pick a Covenant and that's the Covenant you do, and that's what grants you the mechanical abilities. Then that justification makes sense. But then you think outside the box.
The problem is the premise.
Yeah, so you think outside the box and go, well, what if the mechanical stuff was, divorced from the aesthetic choice and the lore in the story? Then you don't have a problem. So it's like good enough defense, shows how they're thinking, but still not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite. Should have pulled the ripcord a year ago.
Now, a bit of good came out of this, though, because Ian also said, somebody here said, does that apply to cross-faction gameplay as well? Ian, it does. Alone is the key word above. There's more to the faction divide than just narrative. There's no quick solution here, but especially when it comes to equal access to endgame systems like M+ and raiding, that barrier is a major issue we know we need to address. So that very much is Ian saying, we, the WoW team, know that this whole faction barrier thing is a problem we need to resolve. So I think they know that it's holding the game back. Now, I do think that WoW, very much Alliance versus Horde, this is where I'm in the losing side of the argument. I've always thought it should be Alliance versus Horde. That should be that. WoW should have way better world PvP. War mode needs to not be half-assed, needs content, needs support, and we need to really support Alliance versus Horde and have that be a core part of the fantasy. But I think that Battle for Azeroth completely ruined the idea of a faction conflict by literally not delivering the faction conflict and instead just having us do weird special forces shenanigans while we saw Sylvanas play with cosmic forces. We got that instead of a faction expansion, but they've done the whole marketing of a faction expansion, which kind of means we can't have one again because they'd be doing the same thing again. In terms of the Cliff Notes version, even though Battle for Azeroth was, anything but, in my head anyway, it was anything but a, core Alliance Horde faction war. I mean, the war fronts were that, but where was the questing? Where was the questing actually in the zones? The core story of the expansion, wasn't that. So
it's the point where
I would like that. I would like the split, but I will concede that it's probably in the overall interest of the game. Yeah, to weaken the Alliance versus Horde divide thing and take it in a different direction.
Yep. I mean, one thing though, just because I'm thinking about it, for them to resolve the fact that they can't do a faction expansion again because everyone thinks the BFA is a faction expansion and they'll never try that again.
Yeah.
I think the solution there is because the better faction expansion, at least in a number of ways, was Cataclysm. Cataclysm was not a faction expansion in any capacity marketing-wise, as far as I remember. It was Deathwing's here, he's wrecked the place. But all of the storylines that in the revamped zones were, full of Alliance and Horde tension because of the state of the world. So they could do that again, where maybe it would be a lot of content they would have to make because they'd have to tell the actual marketed story alongside. But it's the idea of if you have strong Alliance versus Horde undercurrents running through, as an example, the Light Invasion expansion, then
that's what I would want.
Yeah, then suddenly you've got a faction expansion that isn't just a faction expansion and also is kind of snuck in under the cover of an expansion that people will not go, get away from me. So I think that's probably the move, as well as solving any high-end gameplay concerns on the system level as opposed to the player experience of story level.
I mean, people see this when it goes to when we publish my Class Order Halls video, but a resolution to this is to keep Alliance and Horde, but have player, reform the Class Order Halls. The player is not the leader of the Order Hall. You don't deserve to be the leader of the Order Hall. You literally abandoned them after Legion. Like, it's as if Blizzard even forgot they put that in the game, and that canonically, as well as the Maw Walker, you're also the Huntsmaster or the High Lord or whatever. So we need to reform the Order Halls, but just have the player character be a very high-ranking member of that hall, much like how the Warrior of Light in Final Fantasy XIV is a member of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, but Minfilia is the leader of that organization. They need to do that, and then via the framing of having the Order Halls exist, that means that there is a narrative way for cross-faction raiding, because it does banding together for the greater good, and that's a way that does not have the negative connotations of something being called the mercenary system. Because for a lot of people, if they're playing a paladin, they don't want to engage in something called the mercenary system, because it doesn't really fit who their character is. So anyway, it's good to know the Blizzard have, they're keeping tabs on this. Perhaps the next expansion will have a larger solution to this problem. So that's pretty cool. Next, there's a few more things. There's the Covenant cosmetic stuff. There's the anima change. I'm going to nip off to the bathroom, so you, good sir, handle those things.
Yes. I cannot scroll the page.
That's what I get
But
for
I
drinking
can.
loads and loads of water today.
Yep. I'm sure everyone caught all that, but he's gone. So, no, I'm good, thank you. So where the fuck are we at here, boys? Because I've not been scrolling on my side of the document. I've just been paying attention to this screen. So, what do you want to talk about now? It's gone. Yeah, so it was the anima changes. So, Ian said they're looking closely at anima over at alts. Let me just throw that up there. So yeah, it's actually interesting that he talks about the upcoming changes being a direct response to feedback from folks who want to play alts but are put off by the prospect of having to redo certain content or systems. Interesting that anima's kind of not super relevant for a lot of people. No, I've not been watching Max's FFProg, been following it, but I've not been watching it. So the anima cap and BOA anima tokens are both things they're looking closely at. More info soon. I guess that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff that will just keep happening as time goes on, because as we've seen, feedback is starting to work, at least in the whatever apologetic way they're currently doing it. But I mean, they've already got the anima cap change, and then you can transfer anima to alts in 9.1.5. But you have to fully upgrade your Covenant Sanctum first, which is a massive, massive pain in the ass if you're a player who's lapsed in any capacity. Because I think, for an example for me, I've got something like, what is it? Something like 18 days played in Shadowlands so far. I played a substantial amount on one character, and I do not have my Covenant Sanctum finished, because none of the content that grants a substantial amount of anima is really boring. So I've not done it. Most of my anima has been doing the 1,000 every week, and I still don't have enough. I'm still like 20,000 short off finishing it because it costs 30,000. So you can definitely, you'll get it a lot faster now, but it feels like there's always a little catch, always a little catches, little things that keep getting in the way of stuff. Where it's like, yeah, you can transfer anima to alts, but only if your main is like complete, only if your main is fully ready to go.
What's up?
Talking about how there's always a catch. Always
Oh,
a
yeah?
catch to everything they do. In the sense that they are adding...
Oh, we salty again?
Yep.
Yeah! Woo!
Yeah, so they're able to transfer anima to alts. Or you will be able to, but you have to have your Sanctum completed first on a main.
Oh, yeah, that bit. Right.
Yeah.
Who the fuck feels good about getting their mission table to rank 3 so that NPCs regain health faster? Something that I don't know if anyone has noticed. Blizz, do a salt. Either make it everything to rank 2, or just fucking remove it. Just remove it. Just remove it. Just remove it. Because what if... what if somebody has went and they've earned all of this anima, and this is the thing, don't make people retroactively regret how they spent things because you didn't give them complete information because you didn't know the twists and turns you would make, right? You cannot do that. Because what happens if there's somebody, they have they've just ground out their anima, and they've realized they don't really care about the the sanctum things other than maybe the the sanctum building to get the mogs from that. They've put a whole bunch of their anima into their transmogs and stuff, and maybe it's another 40,000 anima for them to upgrade all of their buildings to rank 3, right? And then this happens. Now that person is going to think, oh well, don't I feel really stupid for putting my anima into something other than the Covenant Sanctum, knowing that I'm a collector and would like to get the mogs or whatever from the other covenants. Don't make people retroactively feel like they made the wrong move.
Yep, it's very annoying how simple things like that can completely tarnish the experience of playing alts. It's because, I mean, if you were a collector-based player, then, your most efficient way is to have 4 characters. Obviously, in 9.1.5, you'll be able to just go get them all in one character because you can freely swap covenants and use them. So that's less of an issue, but, for the fast sources of anima every week, you're ideally looking at like 4 characters. But now you can't use any, or, unless you spend... let me do the quick mathematics in my head. I remember working out at something like somewhere between 60 and 80,000 anima you need to fully upgrade your Covenant Sanctum.
Right,
which is, a decent portion of all you would need.
Good whack anima, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a decent portion of all you would need to buy the collectibles. I know it's a lot more than 60 to 80,000, but that's stuff that will then be wasted if you have a main character and want to send it across. So that is a total of 60 to 80,000 anima that you can't efficiently redistribute your resources based on this, like, the same way you could do with gold if you had, in Warlords, you had 12 characters on mission tables. You could, you could distribute all that gold to one character. The reason for not being able to do that with anima is a lot lighter, let's say, or a lot less reasonable.
So basically, just remove that.
Yep.
Let's move on. So speaking of just remove that, it's the Shards of Domination. Yep. So the set bonuses are now on all Domination gear. All Domination gear from the raid will now have a Shard set bonus attached. This should allow for more flexibility in obtaining your 3 set bonus. Yeah. And you know what? Fuck the thinking that led to that being the way it was at launch. Once again, I don't know who did Shards of Domination. They should never do something like that again. I mean, I don't know. Like, imagine if it turns out that Shards of Domination, Azerite gear, and, all of the bad shit was, like, led by the same group of people. Because if that's the case, that track record is very bad. Yeah. This shit just, oh, man. I wish they were just like, okay, we've hotfixed this entire system out of the game and given everybody 8% more damage. We're rinsing our hands. Obviously not. What they really should do is just let us buy these things.
Yeah.
They should remove that a bit of gear is needed to activate the 3 set or something like that. Yeah. They should just put the sockets, the shards on the vendor for purchase, and basically just 100x all forms of whatever it is, just so that these are all acquired and got so quickly and so easily that we never need to think about this system again, and the players don't need to engage with it, because honestly, not engaging with this system, or it being completely trivial, is more fun than engaging with it, because it's a fucking awful, stupidly designed system. So yeah, none of that. Screw it. What insane, crazy clown universe thinking went into people, I don't know, thinking that domination shards would be an exciting thing for players. It's actually baffling. There's a version of domination shards that's really quite good. It's just that every single decision that would have went in that direction, the opposite choice was made.
Yeah, I mean, this specifically irks me because it's a minor point, right? But, well, minor point number 1 is that it's really quite difficult to understand. Why do legs not have a socket, but they have the extra, effect? So why? But the second minor point is This shuffles around people who are what are they called? People who are reforged legendaries. Because now, because I think I saw someone in chat say, let me actually scroll up a second. Hey, at least best in slot BM Hunter Leggy can now be made on the leg slot instead of shoulders. One positive of the shards of domination, more stats. So, that's a hotfix. Legendary reforging isn't in, legendary scrapping isn't in yet. That'll be coming in 9.1.5. So, yeah, sorry, BM hunters. If you want to be BIS, if you want to feel satisfied with your character, you now have to remake your legendary.
Yo.
I mean, you don't have to because it'll be a minor point. It'll be a couple more stats.
Yeah.
But, they clearly didn't spend the time and effort to think about you. Which, maybe a minor loss in the grand scheme of solving, of improving this system. But if legendary reforging or scrapping were in here from the fucking get-go, we wouldn't have this problem.
It's this weird thing where, I feel like somebody probably came up with this idea and then delegated it to somebody who basically doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because you can see how, top level shards of domination work and make sense. That's why we were initially a bit interested, maybe even a tiny bit excited. Oh, this could be a good move. And it could be.
Yep.
But then it's like all forms of execution, implementation were fucked. So yeah, I wonder if that's our post-mortem of it. But anyway. A bit of me does think the WoW team just cannot wait until there is a new raid tier and this is put to bed and we never need to think about it again. At which point I would like to remind the World of Warcraft development team that once again you put a whole bunch of work into something that's only relevant for a patch and then is basically removed. Which, maybe less of that's good. Maybe.
Yep.
Maybe because a lot of the things that people are happy about with patch 9.1.5 are things that will stand to the game for a long time. That's why they're excited, because it's not just this patch is being tweaked or this patch is a bit better. This is improving World of Warcraft. That is what we want.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's that going on. There's the legs that we've talked about. Yeah, there you go. Now, another thing for patch 9.1.5. Redeemed souls are farmable, because we all love handing them in and then having to wait for 20 souls to leap out of our character. So redeemed souls. I think we're all beginning to realize that they shouldn't exist and don't really make much sense.
They seem to...
Very bizarre.
So I can see why they exist in the first place, because there's a couple things that are good about them.
But now they're a bit weird.
Yeah, so the good thing about them is that they actually give you something to do in the Maw that felt like you were the Maw Walker for a reason. Again, because it was tied to a chore that was weekly, it didn't feel very good, but I at least understand the intent. I'll give them that much. And it did work to time get your Sanctum upgrades, which in the face of Anima being a massive grind, they kind of screwed the balance on that system, but at least the intent was there. And obviously the design intent is it also gives you, an extra renown a week for a chore in the Maw. So I understand the design intent, but whoever thought that starts at 5, scales up to 20, and thought players would find it fun, I really wanted hand them a video game, because they've clearly never played one before.
Yeah, well, that is what happens, I believe, when you have a lot of decisions that are made around solving a problem or smoothing out a curve, rather than actually what's the experience like for a player. It feels like a bunch of problem solvers. Which is inherently defensive, rather than a bunch of, I guess, game designers who are designing a game. It's a bit of a weird distinction, but you know what I mean, right? Whenever things feel very defensive in terms of design, and then as a player, you just kind of feel like it's not great to engage with. But anyway, it's repeatable now. So if you just want to, grind up in your Covenant Sanctums, you can just keep on doing this. And Dakor also like to say, since we're getting a farmable source of redeemable souls, could we also please get a similar treatment for grateful offerings? They're used to purchase Covenant transmogs and mounts from Season 1 and can only really be obtained reliably from a handful of dailies that only give 3 to 5 each. So maybe there's something to that.
And also as a little bit of a tease for later.
Ooh.
So what you've done is you've turned a quest that was weekly available weekly, and you've made it repeatable, so people can do the same thing again and get the rewards again.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. I'll bring that back up a little bit later.
Cool. I have no idea where you're going or what you're talking about, so I guess that's me well and goodly, truly teased. Now then, continuing. PvP hot fixes. Some PvP hot fixes. I didn't even know about this. What's this? It's not important. I mean, it is important to the PvPers, but I imagine this is just a bit more balanced. The condensed Animosphere conduit is 50% as effective in PvP for all classes. Perhaps that was dominant.
I feel like they maybe didn't consider that in terms of PvP.
The Shard of Kyr effectiveness reduced by 75% in PvP was 50%. So I guess they're just keeping things balanced. Yep. Also, in-game references to former Blizzard employees have been removed. This is references to Jesse McCree, Luis Briga, and Jonathan LeCraft. Wowhead found a bunch of these that have already gone live. So the inscription signed by the author Lawrence E. Kraft in a steamy romance novel, Stormy Seas, has been changed to signed by the author Noah Scribeson. I mean, it's a bit awkward given everything and that this is a change to the steamy romance novel. But anyway, moving on to the next point. All of the Blood Mist Isle quests referencing Jessera of Macari have been changed. So there's that. Marshall McCree is now called Marshall Patterson. So I guess we'll have to go back to our voice acting sessions for WoW Tales and redo that too. And yes, McCree's sparring gloves is now Patterson's sparring gloves. Senior Scrivener Brega, Jessup's Report, Jessup McCree, Torturer LeCraft, and Summon Crusader LeCraft. Now, there's also the city of Macari. Could be because of the changing of the pronunciation and stuff like that. They're just going to leave that in. And there's NPCs like Crafticus Mindbender. It's still there unchanged.
So that actually, that might not even have been a thing for LeCraft. That's the kind of thing was Crafticus. Maybe not. Maybe not. Depends.
I believe Crafticus was his Twitter handle.
Oh, then never mind. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Macari could be.
I also could be wrong. That's a memory.
Yeah, I feel like Macari could yet be changed, but that's a bigger task than changing some text in a patch.
Absolutely.
It's because you need to get voice actors in. You need to change. You need to get the map redrawn a little bit. That's that kind of stuff.
You have to open up that PSD.
It's brutal, like brutal.
Oh, jeez.
Yep.
Okay, that's that. Cleaning up shop a little bit. We also have got some Battle.net game deals. Woo! Deals! Shadowlands, 30% off. Heroic Edition, 28% off. Epic Edition, 27% off. This is now through September the 6th. And once more, Shadowlands is discounted. They have discounted Shadowlands quite a bit over the last while. Also, COD, Blops, Cow, half off. COD, Modern Warfare, half off. Overwatch, cheaper. StarCraft 2, cheaper.
Go buy StarCraft 2.
Go buy StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2 is great. Its campaigns are... they're really fun. The narrative is very cheesy, and I think certainly is a betrayal of the cooler lore of StarCraft 1, but I think they can be enjoyed and be a fun experience in their own right. So there you go. Some deals. Some sick deals. Not the recent events are making people too jazzed on Blizz deals, but there you go. And we're at the bottom of our document. Well, that's okay, because we did not start at the top of our document.
No, we did not.
We did not. So... speaking of money, let's talk about the money, everyone. Sarge the mouse is a mouse. And you will get this mouse by doing, I believe, the tutorial experience for Mercenaries, the new Hearthstone mode that garnered such incredible articles as, I wonder if it's... there you go. Blizzard just delivered a masterclass on how not to announce a game.
Man, every mainstream games journalist has just absolutely dunked on Blizzard recently, and I love it.
Yeah, it's quite funny. So basically, they did the Hearthstone Mercenaries gameplay showcase, and this thing was pretty long, and I mean, look at this shit. More dislikes than likes. And, a lot of this... is this...
That's chat replay.
Oh, it's the chat replay. Okay. I was like, wait, what is this? Chat room still... So basically, right, they went through this in a muddled fashion that confused everybody. And then people realized that this is a separate game mode that has got its own set of fully monetized card packs. And there's ways you could say it's a bit like Raid Shadow Legends, maybe in a stretch, but, open packs to get more heroes and get more power. So a lot of people are just calling this Hearthstone Shadow Legends. And then the other thing is it's so fucking expensive because so I logged into Hearthstone yesterday and I think I got It was nearly £120
Yeah, it would have been, yep.
of pop-ups. I had one pop-up for one bundle. I was like, oh, what? You want 50 quid or 40 quid, whatever it was? Go away. And then another one popped up. I'm like, oh, you want it again? Go away. And then I looked at the store, and there's the Sylvanas bundle, the Diablo bundle, the Arthas bundle. The Arthas and Diablo ones are like 50 quid or 45 quid.
They're 45 quid. Sylvanas is 26 quid.
Yeah. And it was just like, holy shit, so much money. So yeah, basically, Hearthstone Battlegrounds is pretty well received, but it's just a good game mode, and the monetization came after in the form of cosmetics. Whereas with this, the monetization is built into the very core progression loop of the game mode, which to a lot of people just feels like, well, you already do that for core Hearthstone, and it's already inordinately, like, you know, multiple AAA games a year if you want to be fully caught up, and certainly if you want to play meta decks and stuff like that, you know, you're going to need a little bit more of a roster of cards.
I mean, like, that's a good point brought up, because the game mode's not even out yet. They're saying to pre-purchase 116 quid worth of bundles for a game mode that you might want to play, probably, that they revealed in a showcase that wasn't particularly enjoyed.
Yeah, it's...
But, oh man, it's brutal.
Wild how... Whoever greenlit this campaign must just think they deserve success, or was just ordered to and couldn't do anything, because BC Gamer, Ben... pretty, or maybe it's the editor who did the, you know, the title, but this is not how you should be announcing your game. Now, it does tie into World of Warcraft, which is a large part of why we're talking about it. So if you play the tutorial for this new mode, you will get a mount, which is this mouse. So that's pretty cool, you know, mouse, got a little Hearthstone pack on it. Sweet, whatever, fine. I'm happy enough that Blizzard can do tie-ins between their games. That's totally legit and fine for a business to do. Where we get angry at store mounts is when it's a mount obtainable only in the store, and, you know, the WoW token thing, it's like, there's still the monetization there, right?
Of course.
You know, the WoW token gold to buy a store mount, and, you know, be net balance. So, you know, that's a criticism of the store mounts, but, you know, a business saying, hey, if you get the WoW subscription, we'll give you some Hearthstone stuff as well. Business can do that. That's totally legit and fine.
Yeah, I mean, the part where I come at it from a cynical perspective, and this is, we talked about this at length in the news channel video, but the idea that they're going, you know, the narrative that everyone's like in the community has been following is MAUs worse than 5 years, MAUs down, and we look at the next steps they take, and they are all valid business steps. They're all valid strategies to market, valid strategies to get, you know, cross-pollination between your games, between your products, all fine. All like kind of like that horizontal integration, horizontal and vertical integration. But it reads, if you're cynical, like a ploy to get more MAUs.
And the case is pretty makeable.
Yeah, and in response to the news stories of them losing MAUs, you're like, I see what you're doing here. Which is a cynical perspective behind otherwise sound business mechanics.
So, if you get the 6-month subscription for World of Warcraft, not only, dear viewer, will you get not Articuno, because you will get this.
Yeah, I get that.
You will get an imp that is in a ball.
Big.
For the Burning Crusade Classic. And also now you will get Hearthstone. And you will get a lot of fucking money worth of Hearthstone shit. So, 15 United and Stormwind card packs, $16.99. 15 packs for their next expansion, $16.99. Tavern Pass for this and the next expansion, $33.98. Battleground perks for this and the next expansion, $17.98. And a total of 30 Mercenary card packs over the duration of the 6-month sub period, 15 of which you receive with the release of Mercenaries on October 12th. That's 15 to 20 quid. And hey, if somebody's going to be logging in, you know, to get, like, say, logging in for the second Tavern Pass and the next 15 Mercenaries, will those extend into another quarter? And will that be good for the MAUs?
Yes, because they have actually told us what these will be. They've told us, like, the lineup here. It's the next expansion is planned for December. So you announce the deal at the end of August. You give people some of it in September. You give people the rest of it in October. You give them more of it in October when the new game mode launches. You suspect them to play in November because, you know, they're already been playing for like 2 months. And then that is ostensibly August, September, October, and December as guaranteed login months for these purchasers, which is interesting. But
yeah, I wish we knew Hearthstone MAUs, but this is
we
the
only
other
have the old
side of
one.
it. So, in pure Hearthstone content, and like even if you never wanted to touch the mercenaries mode,
yeah.
that only takes like 15 to 20 quid out.
Actually, I will vaguely dispute that because we don't know how much mercenary packs will cost money-wise yet.
Okay, true.
Because the only way they're available to pre-purchase is in bundles, which include heroes, and the price per pack differs per bundle. Because it's 45 quid for Diablo and 50 packs, 45 quid for the Lich King and 50 packs, but then it's 26 quid for Sylvanas and 30 packs. So to me, that reads like, fuck, well, the price of Sylvanas one better because people aren't going to buy Sylvanas as much as they will Diablo or the Lich King. You know, fair enough. I think any marketing person will see that. But Mercenaries packs cost 100 gold as well. That's been confirmed, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's the same price as regular packs. So I assume instead of 15 to 20, it'll be the 16.99 per 15 that we see, or the 33.98
Yeah. So
for 30. So
it's like around 100 quid, probably more than 100 pounds.
116 quid by my estimation.
Yeah, so 116 pounds worth of Hearthstone.
Yep.
And if you don't care about mercenaries, I mean, it still is
80
all of
quid,
this
like.
stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's
80 quid. So what this means in terms of like MAUs and stuff, or, you know, WoW subscriptions maybe,
Yeah.
every Hearthstone player, now when I say player, I mean somebody who plays Hearthstone. Every Hearthstone player will buy this.
Well, yeah.
Every paying Hearthstone player will buy this, because why would you buy, like, if you're a Tavern Pass buyer
Yeah, why would you buy
and
the
you
Tavern
play
Pass?
Battlegrounds,
Yep.
then you break even. If you are going to want card packs for the expansions, then those are basically free on top of maybe the things you were buying anyway, right? So this is just, I don't know how many people it's going to be, but it makes financial sense for the Hearthstone payers to get this.
Yep.
And that's going to, you know, all those people will be World of Warcraft. And then, to maybe help with their MAUs, I mean, how many WoW players are going to go and play that Hearthstone thing? Logging into Hearthstone in that quarter to earn Sarge?
Yep.
A lot. And remember, one person logging into a Blizzard product once equals one MAU. So if you know, 1 million players of World of Warcraft go and log in to Hearthstone to claim a mount, that is 2 million MAUs from Blizzard. Even though they're, you know, the number of players is the same.
Yeah.
You get twice the MAUs from the same amount of players if those players go into 2 games. So that's where you can really see them just tying all these things together. And I imagine that this will do pretty well, because for the Hearthstone people, it's a great deal. For the WoW people, it's a free mount. That, I think, could obviously work. And then maybe in their next investor call, we'll be able to say, hey, we tried this new thing and it worked really well, showing the power of the Warcraft IP and our incredible ability to leverage our audience's passion across products.
Yep.
There you go. I even wrote the copy for it.
Well done. Because, I mean, man, it's nuts. Where it's just going to be like, yeah, we've just, all Hearthstone players can now log into World of Warcraft for a good deal. All World of Warcraft players can log into Hearthstone for a good deal. Sound. We've just, you know, ostensibly doubled our MAs.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to spend a penny. Sorry, we had to pay some marketing people to, you know, throw it together, but there we go. We made a ton of money, bumped our MAUs. Sound.
Yeah, fair fox. Now,
Yep.
you could say that by offering such a good deal, that is going to be them getting a lot of revenue now,
Yep.
but sacrificing, you know, sort of deferred revenue.
Yeah, of course.
Because there will be less purchases that maybe people want to make because they've done this. But as you, I think, very well point out, really going through Mr. Jernstrom's Let's Go Whaling talk,
Yep.
you know, this is a hook, this is an icebreaker, and what we know about free-to-play games is that people who make a purchase are more likely to make purchases in the future.
Yep.
You know that thing of like, oh, I'll just buy this once because it's a great deal and then, you know, I won't do any? There's a lot of people, like most people will be able to do that. But the point is that is a hook, and then it's an icebreaker for the people who will go on to be whales, and those whales have got an outsized financial impact on the, you know, the success of the game. So
Yep.
this is just, but, you know, in every regard, excellently executed. Also kind of transparent in a sort of situation, as you said in the news channel video, where Blizzard, you know, they're doing all of these things, and we know their most recent news, so it's hard not to look at this with a bit of a cynical angle. But I mean, certainly from making use of what you've got in a world where you can't just make new content appear out of nowhere, this is a real smart way to do it.
Yep. Absolutely. We can only hope that the actual in-game product improvements come with time. Which, not sure about Hearthstone. People are kind of upset over there at the minute, but at least for World of Warcraft, they are putting their best foot forward.
Certainly, yeah. Certainly, yeah. So there's that. Now, the other thing is, Blizzard's big 9.1.5 blue post. We already did a video on this. I'll just do a TLDR so you guys know on the stream. But we're not going to dive super into these because we've really already done it with our content.
Bounce out for a second then.
Yeah, grand. All right, AoE cap has been removed. Ish. Now those abilities will do reduced damage beyond 5 targets. So, look, in terms of balance, it may end up being kind of similar. But in terms of game feel, like your abilities will do damage. And that will mean if you go and you're doing a farm raid or something, and there's 20 mobs in front of you and you do a Frost Scythe, it's probably going to kill all of them. And that's what a lot of players want. So this should achieve still most of their design goals behind the AoE cap while just having game feel be preserved. So... maybe this isn't exactly what everybody would want, but I think this is definitely a move in the right direction, though it is a move that will very much depend on balance, right? Because, if it's tuned such that it only tickles target 6 or target 7, then maybe it won't feel that good. So we'll just need to see how the balance comes out. Legendary scrapping. Simple. 100% Soul Ash and Soul Cinders refund. Kind of nice. This was another one of the things that was in my, 36 changes we want in 9.1.5. So I'm very glad that this has actually made it in. And this just means, whenever you earn Soul Ash, you're not thinking, well, if I have to remake this legendary, the Soul Ash I earned meant nothing, right? All the Soul Ash you earn your character will be Soul Ash on your character because if you do need to recraft, you don't lose it, right? So that's great. Great. And then also the drop rates for the legendary recipes are 100% on any difficulty, which again, I think is the right move to make. Then also Legion Time Walking. The TLDR here basically is it's Time Walking in Legion. It's got its own set of affixes, and the gear is just like Mythic Plus gear in the Shadowlands expansion. Now, your Great Vault will not contain Legion Time Walking gear, but your Legion Time Walking Mythic Plus will contribute to your Great Vault progress. So overall, really good stuff. Just makes sense to make use of that content. Improved Group Finder then. Just a fean changes like, what we said about the Authenticator. Also, you can search within a range, which should be handy for Mythic Plus key levels and ratings. Autofilling the Group Finder information based on your keystone. Group creators can set minimum Mythic Plus or PvP rating requirements, and group creators can select a playstyle, which we kind of touched on earlier. For Threads of Fate, then, you're going to have some feedback because you checked this out on PTR this morning.
Oh, yes.
But, Torghast has a daily quest for XP and Soul Ash. There's a PvP Battleground daily quest for gear and XP. Also, the bonus objectives and zone objectives, well, the bonus objective is shorter by a good bit, and they reward renown, which is great. And then the zone objectives give more gear, gear at a higher item level even, and anima. So that's also quite good. Hair colors we've already covered in today's stream. Also, more gradations for the rated PvP gear. It's now at every 200 rating and 3 item level, so that's pretty good for the people progressing.
Also,
and the honor gear is now more useful. So fully ranked up honor gear at rank 6 will be eye level 233 in PvP, which is the same as unranked conquest gear. And that should mean that you'll be able to grind out some honor and be at a better standing to start off your PvP journey. You're going to say something?
Yep, I was just going to say that until this patch ships, do not trust any of the numbers that they've given for the item level and stuff. So I think they've changed them either twice or 3 times already.
Oh, okay.
So they're very much in the sort of we're rapidly tuning everything as we go phase of this so far. So
grand. Then for quality of life, legacy loot mode for BFA dungeons and raids. So if you and 2 people go in and clear Desara lore, you will get a full raid's worth of loot, not just personal loot for 2 people. There's heirloom scouting maps for alts for all expansions, so you use those, and when you use those, you get a you get a full set of flight points being unlocked for your character
and your map explored.
Yeah, only 5 players are needed for normal warfronts. Then they have some UI and accessibility changes, so they've updated the requirements to participate in the newcomer guide system. Players can opt in after completing 3,000 quests and reaching max level. There is better gamepad compatibility, including support for touchpad and gyro. So that's fairly interesting. I wonder how that works. I mean, touchpad, that would be like the touchpad on the PS5 controller that's up in the middle. Mythic Plus and PvP ratings can be shared through a chat link with shift click.
That's
the item upgrade UI has been reworked.
And it's pretty nice too, I will say that.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Then people who report things will get a message whenever their report results in an action, and then offenders will receive a message of any current and future penalties if their behavior is not corrected. Text-to-speech settings saved on server now, and they've added an option to save the settings account-wide, and there's an option to add voice transcription output to any chat frame and to change the font color of the chat frame. Then also weather effects in Stormwind and Orgrimmar, which I need to check out for sure.
That's one thing I forgot to check out this morning, sadly, because I heard some good things about them.
Oh, nice. That'll be lovely, especially when it's winter and it gets all cozy. All right, so we've covered that. Next thing I'm going to do is your feedback from the PTR, though.
Yes, let's go into that because it's fun.
So the first thing, we have a tweet from Warcraft devs earlier today saying we have a known bug where bonus XP that's shown as a quest reward is being miscalculated, and that this is causing Torghast XP to be lower than intended, and they're working on a fix. And that's good because Dakor just put that in there because that's very relevant to your feedback.
It is exactly relevant. So I tried to level in Torghast because I have I had a 48 shaman over on Horde side.
Yeah.
Who was I tried to, okay, can I skip the Maw intro at 48? Because at 48 you can do it, which is, standard stuff, starting two levels earlier. And then I was like, okay, let's see. This is gonna be great. Gonna hop into Torghast. Let's see how it all works. Record some footage if we need it. And 1 hour later, I have 25% XP.
Uh-oh.
I am now 25% closer to the next level than I was before. And that is quite... that's not very much for 1 hour of solid gameplay. I mean, you might be laughing and go, well, how did you take, how'd you take 1 hour to do 2 Wings of Torghast? Because they are fully using the current Torghast system, which means, outside of the layer selection, you actually go in through the Wayfinder, not the actual existing portals in the thing. So it, rotates that way. But it is a timed run in the sense the current stuff is. You will get Tower Knowledge at the end of it. So you are incentivized to do everything properly. I mean, obviously for leveling, you might want to speedrun, but about just over 10% of it came from the quest completion part. So obviously if that's substantially lower than intended, then it could be going up. But the actual amount of experience you get from killing a mob is genuinely pitiful.
Okay.
I mean, it's pitiful across the game in general, but the vast majority of the time you're working towards a quest when you're killing mobs. Obviously, like the current way to level in game is to kill only the bare minimum for quests unless they're rares.
Yeah.
And it was honestly just brutally slow.
So if we're to assume then that what Warcraft devs have tweeted here, because this is a known bug where bonus XP shown as a quest reward.
Yeah.
So this just means that this is about the daily quest for Torghast. Now, for somebody who wants to do loads of Torghast runs in a day in order to level up,
this means nothing.
This does not mean as great a deal.
Yeah.
Like, if you get half a level of XP for your daily, I think for a lot of people, I'll be like, oh, cool, go do a Torghast run, get half a level, also some from completing the wing.
Yeah.
Good, happy.
Yeah, well,
A lot of people want to do more.
That's the thing, because the idea that they're saying lower than intended kind of makes me think it's, maybe 20% instead of 10%, maybe 30%, which is still a bit low, I think, for doing 2 Torghast runs, especially when you compare how much doing 2 Torghast runs at max level is worth. That's your full week of stuff.
Yeah.
If you do them correctly at the highest level, that is all your legendary progress, which you don't get. You get Soul Ash. You get a small amount of Soul Ash. You get 150, 180 per boss. And then 150, 180 for the completion, which is kind of small compared to what you need, but it is, better than nothing.
Yeah, like Mephisto here got a flawless run.
Yep, same.
And that netted him less than 2 bars of XP for 19 minutes, 180 Soul Ash, and 16 Tower Knowledge.
Yep, that is the exact same as I got. My run took a little longer because I'm not Test Mephisto, the World of Warcraft speedrun king, but you know, it's so close to being good, right? Because I enjoyed it. Doing it as an enhancement shaman, which is maybe not the best spec overall to take into Torghast, or even the, gameplay wise in general, especially before 50 when you don't have your last talent. It's a bit grim, but I had so much more fun than doing anything else in Threads of Fate, because Torghast is where you're vaguely challenged forms of gameplay. And you can also, depending on how many anima powers you skip, you can kind of fine-tune the difficulty yourself. But it was so much more engaging than anything else. Because obviously, dungeon content is you will be doing your full DPS rotation, you will be trying to get as much out of it as possible, but it's still not difficult, especially because you're doing them at normal at that point, so there's no mechanics to threaten you. Whereas I did die a couple times because I wasn't paying attention. It was 7:30 in the morning, and I got hit by a massive strike. I was like, stupid. But it was basically the best way to level the currently existing World of Warcraft. But the way they designed it, you're incentivized to do 2 runs per day, and that's it.
2 runs a day? Or
Yeah.
one of each wing?
Yeah, so there's two available wings, and then the quest is for finishing 2. So you do 2 runs a day, and then you get 10% of a level for your 2 runs from a mob XP, and then whatever the quest reward will be bumped up to is here's your here's some of it. But if you want to continue leveling that day, you go do a battleground, which is also daily quest instead of being a standard thing, but then you get more XP from battlegrounds anyway, and then you go back to the regular style of content, which is not ideal, I think personally. It's not as engaging doing world content, especially if you've done it before. Whereas Torghast at least has the element of being different every time, being more fun overall because you are being challenged. You do have stuff to do.
I think what Blizzard's maybe failing to understand with this is it's not that people want to level a character and do a few quests and a Torghast and a battleground and some dungeons and some this and some that and some that and then hit max level. Now, if you're able to do that, that's a good thing because that's a more varied level experience. But for a lot of people, let's just say they're making a new character and they really want that character to be like a battleground, like a PvP character.
Yeah.
Well, they will just want to spam BGs.
Yep.
Maybe do some other leveling things as they're spamming BGs, but that's really what they want to do.
Yeah.
This current way of doing this doesn't really support that. Now, it's a bit better for BGs because BGs give more, but certainly, let's just say, we're in a world where patch 9.2 adds more cosmetics to Torghast. People are really wanting to do more Torghast. They've got in a better place. Well, if somebody's like, oh yeah, cool, well, I'm hyped to go do this on a Demon Hunter or some other character. I think for that person, getting that Soul Ash, getting that tower knowledge, especially while leveling by just spamming loads of Torghast, is probably just okay. It's grand. Let them do it.
Yep, let people play how they want to play, which means they need the bare minimum of incentives there. Because the way I look at it is the same way I look at how FF14 has established stuff with the daily stuff from roulettes. You do your daily MSQ, you do your daily leveling, you get an absolute ton of XP. And then you go do less efficient activities after that.
Mm-hmm.
But you always have that one daily thing that's really nice, but it's not like the difference is huge, but it feels good. So you get a massive amount of XP for your daily stuff, and then if you want to continue, you're slower but not slow, which I think is the important part, because if I were to give feedback literally directly, because I think it was Josh Augustine who was asking for feedback. If he were in front of me, I would say, on beta, it was nice because you got substantially more mob XP. Because I remember doing a couple runs on Warlock that was copied over at 50 and hit 51. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize. To be fair, Torghast knew I was having a lot more fun with it at the time because it was all completely new to me. But I still got 51 in a couple runs. Went, oh, wow, this would be really cool if this happened. But now in Threads of Fate, I feel like it's really constrained to the daily quests. For a start, I don't want to have to finish 2 runs every day to get most of my XP. Maybe one's a bit more reasonable of 30-minute timer, or 30 minutes for probably the average kind of run, 25 minutes. And it kind of boils down to how some days I have time for 1, some days I have time for 10. I don't feel accommodated to in any capacity as a player there, because it is complete feast or famine. I either do the daily for most of the XP or I get nothing. And it's so much slower than other forms of leveling, because all the bonus XP is accounted for in Threads of Fate. You go kill a load of mobs in Threads of Fate, it'll fill up the bar. You'll get a load of XP. So all of the XP is in the quests, as opposed to the mob XP, which means I can't just play Torghast all day long and get loads of XP. Or not even, like, I can't play it all day and get a reasonable amount of XP, because without the daily quest, I'd be getting, at the speed I did it, I'd be getting 10% of a level an hour. Which means it would be, from 48, that'd be, was it 120 hours to get to level 60?
Bit much.
Yeah, so I've thought about what I think would make it better overall, to be very direct in feedback. I'll likely, boil this down a little bit and tweet it at him later to kind of, because that's where I asked for it. But I think step one is to improve XP, which is to make the daily quest grant a substantial amount of experience. To learn from like FF there and go, here's like a level, here's half a level, 75% of a level. They may do that because of the miscalculation, but it needs to be like massive. Like if someone's going to go out of their way to log into your game, you should maybe make them feel a bit rewarded.
Yeah.
Because you want daily active users, this will help. If you go do run one of Torghast every day, players will be happy. So that's like one thing, but they need to bump up mob XP in Torghast by maybe 4, 5, 6 times. I would say 10, but then that would mean you'd be leveled in 20 runs of Torghast. And even that seems reasonable to me. Like, honestly, that is a decent amount of time. 20 runs of Torghast is more than enough time for you to be familiar with your class mechanics. And as far as an RPG sort of goes, that's the point of leveling, is to give you that run-up time. So that's basically what I would suggest. Where you're looking at 25 to 50% of a level for clear, and then you're sorted. That would be substantially more fun. It would be more rewarding. It would fit the criteria that I've been talking about, which is efficient but limited versus inefficient but unlimited.
Yeah.
So that is, if I had all Saturday to play, I'd feel good. If I could only do 1 or 2 runs every day from Monday to Friday, I'd also be making a ton of progress. So it fits around all permutations of my schedule, and I constantly feel okay as a player, accommodated to, versus the current system where if I have a load of time, I don't want to. I'm disincentivized from doing it the way I want to do it, which is kind of the point. And then the second point is just let leveling Torghast actually replace some of the non-leveling Torghast.
Yeah, let the leveling Torghast replace Chorghast.
Exactly, because right now you get Soul Ash. You don't get any Soul Cinders, which is the new currency people actually want. Mm-hmm. So you hit 60 from leveling Torghast. You've got all the Soul Ash sorted out, or most of it. But, you'll still need weeks of Torghast to get Soul Cinders for legendaries. Which you could say, well, you shouldn't be able to skip to, 262 or whatever. But I sort of think maybe you should be able to. If it's the current legendary, especially if you look at how supply and demand will work, it'll likely end up being... you don't want people to spend hundreds of thousands of gold stepping up.
Yeah.
So that would be a solution to that. And then Tower Knowledge needs to go up. Because I got 16. I had to do 2 runs to buy the first rank of the first thing. And I don't see Tower Knowledge going up because you've no layer choice. So it's just me getting a tiddly bit of Tower Knowledge. I got 29 for doing 2 runs. To be fair, my last run was scuffed. I played like a complete idiot, but that was 29. And then I looked at the seasonal cap, 3,150, and I went, fuck, that doesn't feel very good. So it's the kind of thing where I can't engage with Torghast below level 60 in the systematic way. I can engage with it play-wise. I can literally play it and get some XP. But it's like, if you can improve the XP substantially, let people have efficient but limited and inefficient but unlimited, and then make it so if you do Torghast when you're leveling, you don't have to do it as much later on through actual systems, then you've given players more efficiency overall. You've given them freedom in how to play, and I imagine using myself as a basis, they will be substantially happier for it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do that. There's not much else to talk about for the PTR feedback. It's essentially that for leveling Torghast.
Yep.
So there we go. Now, problems with the Path of Ascension. Good, yes, Mandel. Mandel's very happy about the state of World of Warcraft. Passive Ascension. Path of Mandel's, by the way, was a class writer. Class writer. Right. Basically, the thing with Path of Ascension is it's fucked. That has been fucked for ages, and they've seemingly abandoned it.
Absolutely.
Now, I imagine they know
that
they need to start, doing something with all this semi there. Now, that should look a bit better with our overlay. Yes, an intro to disaster. It's worth noting the entire introduction is extremely user unfriendly. Imagine you spend 1,500 anima, you farm the soul fragments, capture Calistine, go in, and you die unavoidably, and the NPCs laugh at you. The game then gives you an item you need to beat the fight, the Herald's Footpads, which is actually still bugged in the same way that Fell Rush is, where you can use it and it takes you nowhere, and as a result, you die again. And at this point, you likely only have 3 to 4 medallions. Of course, the whole thing has got this medallion currency to it. And yeah, the player achievement percentages, this is great. So all the percentage of path players, 100%. All players, 18. For the, losing to Calistine and Courage. 12% of all players, 66% of path players. And you can see with the path players, it just kind of goes down and down and down.
Yeah, you've already lost a third of your players from actually getting from I have turned on the system, I've clicked the anime button, to I've went up the stairs, I've went round the left, I've taken a right, I've seen the quest now that it's on my mini map, I've picked it up, I understand, I've clicked the button to go in. So you lose a third of your players before they even get to the first fight of your system. That doesn't bode well.
Yeah. 5% of players have unlocked 5% of players who have unlocked Path beat Calistine on Wisdom, which is rank 3 of the building. Clearly showcasing the building is not worth the hassle. Provides the majority of the player base, and basically just going through the issues like, the Medallion of Service is required to enter it. That requires a relatively intensive farm, either through the anima conductor or passively waiting for callings to show up. Which puts a time limit on the crafting materials the crafting materials required for the charms dampen this further, particularly in cases where you need 5 charms for a fight. Do you burn your Medallion of Service on attempts to practice without charms, or burn 3 to 4 medallions per attempt with full charms on? And it kind of just keeps on going. We've got the soulbind inequality with balance being messed up. We've got the reactive, ham-fisted fixes where in early 9.0, some of the strategies used for the fights were fixed. With a devastating effect for some of the fights and without additional attention to why people were attempting to cheese the fights in the first place. All of this and many other changes were done without even a mention on patch notes, more often than not, and without any change to enemy health or damage, making the fights harder and harder as time went on. Systemic abandonment, as if this wasn't enough. After the first wave of changes aimed at stymieing the small number of cheeses, the path was essentially abandoned, leaving tuning in a state of disarray. So great. And then, Mandel's got a few suggestions how to fix this up, like removing the Medallion of Service entry cost, properly balancing the fights. That seems like something worth doing. Drastically increasing the drop rate of a bunch of mats for the charms, and some other things. Which basically, right, it's that thing where, and I remember you saying this, the Path of Ascension is actually really well, I think quite well designed, the combat bit. It's just everything around it's messed up and it's clearly not ready. Yeah,
that's the thing that's really annoyed me about it. It's really great potential. Substantial potential. It opens up kind of strong. And then more and more holes appear the more time you go through it. Especially as you get to the harder difficulties, you're like...
Yeah, I wouldn't know, by the way. I'm not a Kyrian.
Yeah. So it's just... Well, actually, David Main says it perfectly. Path of Ascension could have been the next Mage Tower if done right. But, however, it was definitely an afterthought. Obviously, with the expansion being, delayed anyway, you can see how that could happen. Mm-hmm. But fundamentally, this is an exceptional idea and a fantastic system that they had too high an entry cost to, and then completely and utterly scuffed in terms of literally the balancing. Because it is fun to do. It's just not fun to progress so you can complete for the rewards at the end of it, because some of them are literally impossible to choose, which is the difficult part, obviously. But
That is certainly what we call not ideal.
yeah, I mean, I can't even give any specific flavor myself on how it gets more difficult, because I've not been bothered with half it, because it got substantially less fun the more enemies were added. But they're very simple class agnostic things, because you play as Pelagos, Clea, and Mechanicos. Mechanicos is awful. You sort of cool idea, but not executed very well. Clea is kind of okay. Pelagos is the fun one, but also has an ability where there'll be in a cone in front of you, there'll be 3 things spawn.
Yeah.
One, I can't even remember what one of them does, honestly. The only one I can remember now is the one that gives you immunity for 10 seconds when you get hit next, because that's the one you just constantly want all the time, because it makes you immune, so you can cheese so much stuff with limited immunity. But it's like, it's so close to being good, and just haven't done it correctly.
So add this to the 915 list, I think.
Honestly, I think it would take more time than 9.1.5.
Oh, that's a bit rough.
It's, it is a substantial redesign of, Clea and Mechanicus. It's a substantial rebalance and a possible redesign of multiple fights.
Ouch.
Yep. So it's not an easy fix.
And then it's like doing that, which is the right thing to do, but it's for like one feature and one covenant that not that many people care about. Therefore,
so why?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Ouch.
I think that's interesting that Mandel pointed it out. 0.5% of players have done it. 0.075 have done this. So you go, well, players haven't done this, so it wasn't a good idea. Let's not spend the time fixing it. Let's not spend the time to ever try it again, because it was clearly a failure. But that's what happened if you look at a single data point, instead of doing the qualitative analysis of why was this not good.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, indeed. So,
yeah,
that's Warcraft stuff done. Basically, yeah, a bit is too little too late, but overall it is good changes. We very much hope these are reflective of, design principles that are being learnt, will be applied to 9.2, that with a 9.2 PTR process and post-patch process, maybe with a 9.2.5, will result in learnings that truly have finally, maybe, actually, deeply been learned for the next expansion to World of Warcraft, which hopefully will, because, I'm so tired of WoW being... I'm so tired of WoW being like this.
No, I'm not
so tired.
I'm not holding my breath, to be honest. Like, I won't believe it till I see it. I won't believe it until I'm playing 10.0 and going, oh, nice.
Could you imagine, 10.0 not being, BFA or Shadowlands? It's that weird thing with Shadowlands. They got the launch right, and then everything else. Yeah, hopefully. Now, and we do have a few more things to talk about, and I will say this will be a good bit shorter than normal stream, because for reasons that patrons, you guys know a little bit more, just relating to, the game side of things and a bunch of other things it's just non-negotiable things we've got to fix up and get right and get good. We just have a lot of that going on over the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks, so we just have a lot of extra work to do, and that means we're tired. So shorter stream than normal. Not going to do supers. We're way over halfway through the stream, I would say.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I am sorry, but yeah, we're busy. It's all to get you guys more content, and certainly in the WoW front. One of our editors is off for the next week, which kind of will reduce content. But let me tell you, in terms of scripts, I think we've never had such a backlog. Where we are ahead of ourselves. There will be, lots of content. Final Fantasy stuff. So, quick updates on my... I haven't looked at this doc, so I'll see what has Dakor prepared for us.
So he's prepared for us some stuff about the potential upcoming changes to what you were talking about last week, which is your Praetorium stuff.
Yes.
So Cape Westwind, Castrum, Meridianum, and Praetorium are likely, based on what UCP has said, both August 2020 and in the JP server live stream last week. After 6.0, they'll be changing stuff up, because he said this might be the last time you'd experience Kip Westwind in this way when he was doing it live on stream.
Interesting.
So that's what he's prepared for us. If you want to go through for a little bit more color, but yep.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'll do is what's new for me. So, right. Patch 2.1 has been completed. That is the patch that sees the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, change home. It's got a little bit of voice acting in it. And you deal with the Moogle King. So, did that. 9.2 then is Into the Maelstrom, I believe. Into the Maelstrom, definitely more engaging than 2.1. And Into the Maelstrom's cool because we have a refugee storyline playing out. Yeah. There's actually quite a lot of refugee storyline stuff, but we've got the refugee storyline with, is it the Dormans? Domans, yes, the Domans.
Doma.
We've got that, but then we've got all of the primal Kraken situation with Leviathan and Limsa. Mm-hmm. And certainly the spectacle of that Leviathan fight, because of course, remember, I'm playing this in a 65-inch TV with a gamepad. So the spectacle of that fight is quite a bit more than the previous ones. And it was quite fun. Yeah, it was quite fun.
Music's sick too.
Yeah. The music was great. And just the voice acting is featuring more and more prominently. And I really noticed that in the content of patch 2.3. 2.3, I'm not 100% sure what's going on in Gridania right now because I'm the first quarter into patch 2.3. But there is a continued refugee thing. Not to do major spoilers, but basically we help out some refugees in patch 2.2. And then in 2.3, more refugees arrive and are like, hey, can you help us? But then it turns out maybe some iffy things have went on with what some of those refugees have done back in Ul'dah. So you kind of go and investigate. And there's some mystery and what's going on, and then at the same time some stuff's going on in Gridania, and the amount of voice acting has I think steadily increased, which makes it feel better and better and better. Which it's going to be funny because I'm used to most of these characters now.
Yeah.
And how they sound. It's going to be funky whenever they get their new their new voice acting. Certainly watching the cinematic trailers. And then comparing it to the voices that I know, it's I'm confused. But yeah, I mean, I get it, and people are very, very jazzed on the new voice actors. So, right. That's where I am in FF. Honestly, it's all still good.
Yep.
All having a bunch of fun, just chilling out, playing the TV. The thing that I'm now getting into is playing Rogue correctly, not Rogue Ninja, which means doing. Right. The thing is, I'm only level 52. I don't have every single name of. I mean, I know the mechanics. It's not perfectly committed to memory. But basically, I've got my usual 3-piece combo of my core attacks. Soon, though, I get Armor Crush, which will increase my Huton. Which basically means that I cast that and then I can just maintain it for the whole fight, which really frees up the whole ninjutsu mechanic for more of the things you want to do in a fight, including using Suiton? Is that the one that gives you the ability to use stealth?
Use
so
stealth abilities.
The way that it all works is you're supposed to use that basically 15 seconds before your is it trick attack? Yeah, before trick attack. Because trick attack is a 5% increase of damage done.
10%, isn't it?
No, it's 5.
5? Huh.
It's 5. So you use that, then you use your dot, because your dot is actually a massive potency ability across its full duration. So you do the two of those, and then you really want to be pumping in just all of your damage within that damage window. So actually doing all of that is a fair amount of learning to do.
Yeah, oh man.
So, I'm getting there, and I've been looking at openers, but the thing is, I look at an opener, it's I don't have a bunch of, abilities like the assassination stuff.
Yeah, you're missing most of it,
Yeah, the gauge, Ninky gauge.
Yeah, you're missing the Ninky gauge.
Ninky gauge, I don't have that. And from what I understand, the Ninky gauge, a bunch of your abilities, especially your finishers of your core combo, I think, if memory serves, from the guide I was reading, those fill up your gauge, and then once your gauge hits 50, you have a selection of abilities that you can use.
Yep.
And certainly the prospect of stuffing this all into a gamepad is very daunting. And I am wondering if what I'm really going to need to do is either just be happy enough to play at 90% of my potential DPS when I'm playing in that mode, or to just have another job that's a lot more gamepad friendly.
Yeah, I feel like
save the big sweaty ninja business for when I'm doing mouse and keyboard fully set up.
Yeah, with the exception of, I think maybe Samurai, although I haven't played Samurai above, I think it's 72 is the point it gets a bit sweaty. Ninja's definitely been the job that's taxed my keybinds the most substantially, to the point where I think it technically doesn't fit where every other job fits in, except maybe Red Mage, because Red Mage is fucking weird. But anyway, yeah. Ninja is fun and very sweaty.
Yeah. So
Very
that's honestly, that's my Final Fantasy XIV experience so far. All stuff's going good, though that said, my progress is going to be slow. What I really do want to do is be ready for Endwalker.
At this rate, nah, not a fucking hope.
So Matt is saying that just coming out of the multiple hour meeting that me, Matt, Thomas, and Jess were in on a lot of game dev related things, because it's all heating up. We have a lot of work to do, and because of that, there's a lot of work to do. Oh my god, there are so many things to do. Good god, yeah, cool. But yeah, I'll get as much, and no, I'm just actually not going to have free time, honestly, for the next year. So that's just going to be how it is.
Cool.
So yeah, that's that. Now, other things. Right. The Praetorium is here, because we talked about that last week. I think Dakor wanted to bring up, I guess, just some things that we missed, because we'd mentioned there was some Yoshi P quotes, but we didn't actually talk about them. So there's a patch 5.3 interview with Yoshi P, 14th of August 2020, just to showing that this is in their mind. So, will Castrum Meridium and Praetorium see changes, whether it's skippable cutscenes or alternatives? Yoshi P, I do apologize, but we will not be reworking those two dungeons just yet. We believe minor fixes to these dungeons are not feasible, and it will be necessary to either completely remake them as 4-player dungeons or incorporate the trust system so they can be cleared on a solo basis. Although we didn't have the costs reserved for the rework on this occasion, we do plan to work on them at some point. Please wait a little longer for this. Note that this was conducted in the early times of COVID. So, yeah, not being the highest priority, of course, given that they have Endwalker to happen. Yeah, so that's that with Praetorium. It's kind of weird because, from my read of this, Praetorium is not ideal for, a new player.
Yeah.
Now, for me, it basically did work because, I don't know what to say. I did not have a perfect run. I also was able to engage the human brain and catch up with people. Not perfect, but, I got the full story. I got all of that stuff. The things that they wanted to hit, they did hit. So that was that, and I was happy enough with it. Now for the people then who, they get Praetorium in the MSQ, roulette. Yeah, it's a bit weird because from what I see with the FF community, some people, but basically it gives you so much XP that you don't feel like you're being fucked over by it. Yeah. That's thing number one. Now, whether that's a good experience or a bad experience seems to depend on whether people have got a Netflix tab open or maybe, have a Hoover and, a washing cloth near them so they can do some chores. But that seems to be that. It doesn't seem like the most pressing problem. I don't know. Would people quit over that? I'm sure some people would, but those are going to be more low commitment players.
Yeah, no,
it's not ideal, but it should definitely be fixed.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, the first time I played Praetorium was 3 point something. It was in Heavensward time, many years ago, and it did drastically ruin my whole experience of the game, and I took some time away from it as a result because I was really frustrated at how scuffed the way with the skippable cutscenes, the way I got a scuffed version of the narrative climax.
Yeah.
And then they made it unskippable at the end of Stormblood, solving that problem, and then giving people loads of XP, all the reasons, because, I mean, the fundamental reason it's like this is because they haven't fixed it yet, and they need people in the queue, so they give you loads of XP for sitting through cutscenes.
Yeah.
And most people are like, fine. It's like, would it be better if they made very minor fixes, such as dropping the item level sync down substantially so fights take longer? Would it be better? Probably feel a little better, but that's a fix they haven't bothered making because a lot of people just want to kind of get through it. The narrative's largely intact, and they're working on it. Because if you scroll down a little bit, you will see there's a continuation when he talks about the JP server stress test.
Ah, right. So this is about 6.0 onwards, but we're planning a lot of things, and one of them is there's a possibility we'll be changing Cape Westwind fight in some ways. So it's possible that this might be the last time you can experience the fight in this way. And, the mid-reviewer laughs. Yeah, we're planning a lot of changes after the 6.0 patch. Is one of the things that might happen. Yeah, Cape Westwind, basically, you queue in and it just falls over, and that's that.
Yeah, so
and
it's
a bit of a meme.
So it's the last three parts of 2.0 are 8 players. There's the 8-player trial of Cape Westwind, 8-player dungeon of Meridianum, and then there's the 8-player dungeon of Praetorium. And like they're talking about 5.3, if Yoshi B said, this might be the last time you'll be able to play Cape Westwind in this way, then he might be meaning that 6.1 or 6.2 will see the changes that they're throwing in to make that 2.0 end actually better.
Yeah.
So rip to the memes, but
basically it's like this is not a massive it is a problem, but it's one that they seem to be very aware of, and I guess I've got solutions in mind for. It's just they also have got to ship the expansion soon, and sometimes part of leadership is working out what fires to let burn, because if you split your attention between every single fire but you do not weight that based on the importance of putting that fire out, then you will have a inefficient allocation of capital and human time resources and stuff. So you got to choose the right fire to put out and the right fires to let burn. So that's basically the situation with that. All right, weapon design contest. Artisans of Heidelin, we hope you've honed your skills, because the time to create came once again. This time your task is not to design attire nor furnishing, but a weapon of your choice from all existing jobs. To assist the development team in better implementing your designs, we have prepared templates similar to the ones used by the team when they create, so be sure to use them when submitting entries. As with our previous design contests, the winning entries will be implemented in-game for players to obtain in the future. There you go. I do agree with Dakor's happy there, but I am going to step out here and say, if you do this in a bunch of other games, you get a kickback. You get financials for it, because look, basically this is just the thing. I get fan contests and stuff, but if it's going to go into the game, then it's basically just a bunch of spec work. And I'm sure that a lot of people are going to be fundamentally pissed off because it's me criticizing Final Fantasy. But for some people this is just cool community engagement. But for me, I then do just think, well, spec work's not really cool. What do you think, Matt?
I'm sort of torn,
I'm
because I think that the design contest is really interesting. The prize of the prestige of having your weapon be in game is actually fairly strong. So I think for people who are doing this because they want to do it, that's fine. I think if you're doing this to replace things, or in the likes of Ubisoft did something quite a while ago now. I think was it for Watch Dogs or something, where they did a bunch of spec work stuff, but it wasn't framed as it was sort of similar. But
and here you can see just the turnarounds that they ask for.
Yeah, so it's definitely definitely spec work, like on paper. It's also a fan contest on paper. So it's kind of like the fact that there's no monetary prize is a pain in the ass, because the pricing is as follows. So there's 18 grand prize winners. One from each of the 18 categories will have their entry implemented into FF14 and will receive one great Pyroserpent in-game item, which is a cute parasol. 100 entrants who qualified as finalists will get the Pyroserpent, and 300 entrants who have been qualified as runners-up will get a Bluebird earring, one Scarf of Wondrous Wit, one Mandragora choker, one Iron Man choker, one Noble Barding, one Gala Cap, and one Modern Aesthetics Strife, which is basically a bunch of, I believe, store items. So here's a bunch of store items, because they can't give them money, because that gets, then they start doing, they're working for you then.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I kind of lean on the same thing I lean with most other things where this clearly isn't them going, fuck, we don't have any weapons made.
Yeah.
They could probably make weapons easier than setting up a design contest because you'd have to consult with legal and everything like that.
Oh, totally.
So it's kind of the idea of intent. Or I think intent is mostly pure here. At least as far as I can tell.
No, I think the intent is pure. It's just, in a way, it is spec work. So
yeah. So
okay, put it this way: if
Yeah.
Blizzard,
yeah,
like,
they're not store items. You can't get them in store. They're event items to give out. Okay.
yeah, like if
Undertale.
Blizzard did this, there'd be a little bit of salt. Let's just say,
Yeah.
purely because it's spec work, right?
Yep.
So that's just it is what it is. But the thing is that the people who opt into that also do know what it is, and
Yeah.
with the spec work thing, that's something people have got more of a problem with if it's like, job applications and stuff like that, versus the cool little design contest.
Yep.
So anyway, right, there's that, and then also another Tales from the Twilight series called Her Father's Daughter. Came out this week because they're doing those short stories.
Yeah, I can't wait to read that because I've read the first part of it and I read the one they released last week and I was like, shit, this is good.
Yeah, apparently it's good stuff. So there you go. That's FF. I'd love to say that I really what's spec work? Basically, spec work is just
Speculative work.
Speculative work. It is outsourcing work that you sort of should be doing with your own people, paying, but outsourcing that to the community. People sort of see it as an exploitation of either desperation for a job or of a community.
Yeah, I mean, actually, S12 puts it well in chat. Make me some art, and if I like it, I'll pay you afterward. Which is the thing. It's speculative because it's not necessarily going to be used. It's not going to be paid for.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of because if you imagine like an art commission, imagine this is a commission where they reach out to someone who's renowned in the community for design. They're like, hello, we love your design work. Can we use what you have, or can you turn it into something we can actually use? Like, can you give us the full turnarounds? We'll give you this money because we're paying you as for this work, or even not for the existing work, but they're commissioning someone. The reverse is people are making art and hoping it gets paid for. So
Yeah.
it's used pretty badly in a number of situations where I've heard stories of people signing up for software jobs being told, oh, could you design us this system, and then they end up using it but don't give the person the job.
Oh,
which
wow.
is like the scummiest shit you could feasibly do, but you can kind of get away with it by going, it's a contest, but it's
Yeah,
difficult.
it's not the end of the stream. I have a final. We have a final story actually just hit from Wowhead. So those starting pieces that we talked about earlier. Yeah, they're here. They're actually in game. Starting armor sets will receive a revamp in patch 9.1.5.
Nice.
The current sets will be replaced with high resolution armor sets with a simple aesthetic. So yeah, there you go. Here's the one for the druid. Here's the one for the hunter. Zoom in. Come on. No zoom in.
enhance. There we go. You figured out
It's
the
still
British.
not particularly high res. Let's be real. Maybe it's just like screenshot or something. So yeah, we've got these. There's mage.
Yeah, although I did actually see people be sort of annoyed by this because it's one bit of gear, at least for the mage robe. The mage robe, all the chest stuff was a robe instead of being different pieces here and there. But minor point.
There's paladin.
Yep.
So looking pretty good. Priest, which is basically recolor of the mage one. Rogue. I think that's real roguey. There's some people who would even want to use that in their endgame rogue, I think.
Yeah.
So I remember a lot of people like, the Defias set.
Yep.
Shaman, bit more simple. Doesn't really
Is
feel
that-
that shamany
Is
to
that
be.
not almost exactly the same as Hunter?
Yeah, I think it's per set recolors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's per set recolors.
Uh,
Warlocks, then just that. Warrior is that. Like, I think the Warrior one is overall the best here.
it looks way too similar to the BFA stuff to me.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I guess I could see that. Now, there is a bit of a downside here.
Yep.
The old ones are not going to be obtainable. So, if you want something like the Apprentice's Robe, this
Well,
this one that we've all seen, a million
Yeah.
times, right? it seems like those won't be obtainable.
Well, they're grey, so they're not transmoggable anyway.
Yeah, well, there's a really, really simple solution. Just put them in a vendor at the starting zone.
Wow, what's that?
So hopefully they do that. Yeah, there you go. Maybe if they, I think they could look a bit better, to be honest.
They could,
but
one step at a time, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
So that's yeah, that's that. That's the WoW news.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is just 915's out. We're sort of filling in a few more of the details.
Yeah.
I think the big news will happen once we start thinking about what a 9.2 is, and once we get to see what 9.1.5 will actually let us do. Like, will there be Torghast changes that mean there can be leveling Torghast? At which case, do we do a bunch of leveling in Torghast, get a video on it, actually report to people what it's like. So who knows? I think there's a lot of things as well, like how the Covenant swapping works, not on the PTR yet. Legion time walking, not on the PTR yet. So there's a lot more to cover in terms of content. Right now, we basically just have patch notes and the few systemic changes that have actually made it into the PTR plus data mining.
Yeah, that's one of the things. There's so much isn't in. Yeah. So much they've announced isn't in. So there could be, everything could be beautifully implemented, or there could be a massive ton of problems and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like even thinking about what they expect for what's a high level of renown. So I don't think they've clarified that point. But if that's 80, then you run into a problem. If it's, to be fair, if it's above 40, you run into a problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of devils in the details and that kind of thing.
Yep. So we'll have to cover them.
New class speculation.
That's probably talking about the survivor thing.
Oh, yeah.
We covered that last week, I believe. Yes, we did. Where it was
maybe that's referencing a clip or something.
Was the data miner found the the survivor string?
Hope that the clip didn't mislead anyone, because I actually don't know how it was thumbed and everything.
Was that a week ago? My brain's starting to really feel.
Oh no, that was as WoW getting a new class. Oh. Yeah, that's that. Well, I mean, it's whatever. Yep. It wasn't dislike bombed. We'll live.
Yeah, so I think the answer is resounding. Probably not. Probably not. But for a bit, suppose we covered it in the clip. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So the final thing, just want to recap some of the videos we've done this week. We've got our 9.1.5 sort of review overcap thing. If you want a quick version of all of that, you can go there, and also my opinions and some more of the things. We've got a message to the World of Warcraft team. This is pretty big one. Blizzard have done a good start, but this is really us laying out what we think leads to WoW being in a way better state within like a year. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good one to check out. For the news channel, then we have got. Oh
baby,
we touched on it today, but a lot more in depth on the Hearthstone stuff and what it sort of achieves from a business angle. Fascinating shit, really is. Then we've got Blizzard cleaning house in Overwatch and World of Warcraft. Top prize for guessing what that's about. China gaming restrictions. This is fascinating. Only 3 hours of video games a week if you're a kid. And you can really tell why a lot of Chinese big companies are maybe thinking about the future of being in the West for their games, because turns out the people who are impacted by this will be highly monetizable 20-somethings in like a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are playing less video games because of state regulations, well, what does that mean for the state of the Chinese game market in 10 years? Is it, sort of constraining the supply of new people entering the games market because they can only play a tiny amount of games, so they don't really get into them? We've got controller patents as well, which is quite interesting because it's why back paddles have not been as much of a thing as they really should have been.
Despite how great they would be for you playing FF.
Yeah, we've got a stealth downgrade to the PS5, kind of maybe interesting stuff. There was less copper in it and higher vent temperatures for heat. Will that impact the CPU? Who knows? Maybe iFixit or Gamers Nexus will dive a little bit more deep into this one.
I actually think Digital Foundry posted some findings on that. I actually didn't check them yet.
Okay,
But
well,
I believe
check
they
that out.
posted findings on that.
And then we've got EA doing some big chatting because, of course, we've got the news channel with lots more content on it as well.
And more coming over the weekend.
Yes,
I
actually,
believe-
there's a good few stories. There's that whole bit one of fraud that you went really deep in on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is probably interesting for the less general video game audience, but yeah, look out for that. I don't know when it's going up. It's either tomorrow or Sunday, evening or afternoon. But basically, there's a story about a couple of people who may or may not be single-handedly within a group of maybe, core group of maybe 3, maybe 4 people who are responsible for, how in 2017 you were seeing the Super Mario Bros. Cart sell for $30,000, and then a while ago it sold for $2 million. That's a pretty high bit of inflation. Could be that 3 or 4 people are behind that, and they may also have used the History Channel's Pawn Stars as a vehicle to do that.
Crazy
Because people will go to insane lengths to make some goddamn money. Legal disclaimer, I am not suggesting any of these people have any fraudulent behavior, except for one of them who's caught for fraudulent behavior in the past.
Yeah. So it's some good shit.
Yep.
Well, some good shit indeed. I've got to be honest, though, it is time to end the stream. And I know this will be one of our shortest in a good long while. And,
2.5 hours.
generally we haven't been doing like the big crazy long streams. Look, the reason why is we are just really busy because we have the games, the game studio stuff. We just have, I mean, look, as you know, if a game is going to be coming out, there's a whole bunch of things that need to be done. Now, I can say, I believe we've mentioned it, but that's a next year thing. But look, at some point, we're going to have to start talking about those things, like properly and publicly. At some point, we're going to have to talk about how, we have, it's not just us involved, right? There's a partner, as there tends to be with games. There's, the developer, then there's somebody else. There's just a whole bunch of things, and we just have a lot of work to do. At the same time, we really need to get more of the podcasts done. We have a bunch of internal things that we need to kick off that are all, good and pro there being more content. And with game dev on that side, it's not just going to be us being, oh, here's the game. We do want to do more. We want to, we want content in and around that because there's a lot of stuff that we can share, a lot of mistakes we've made, a lot of things we've learned, just, shit that I think people will want to hear because, we haven't just went and been like, yes, our infinite well of YouTube money, because it's literally not that. We've just went and made games. Ooh, done. No, the games things involved me and Thomas going to Gamescoms and Game Connect or Games Connection. Yes, it was Games Connection France at the same time as the Paris Game Show like a few years ago. But there's a lot of stories, a lot of things, because even though we do have the whole YouTube thing existing, we very much did the game studio stuff in a bit of the traditional way, which was how we kicked it off. So there's just a whole bunch to go into, and that just means we need to get a whole bunch of things ready. So
Hopefully you will enjoy.
yes, basically TLDR, Zug. Zug fucking Zug.
Yep.
Lots of Zug needed. There's going to be a bunch of work. It's going to be fun, though, and, of course, it's all in the name of getting you guys a whole bunch of cool shit. This cool shit is, in fact, why we do all of this.
Absolutely.
So, that's going to be it for me and Matt today. We will be back for the stream the same time next week. Hopefully, by that stage, there'll be another PTR build, which will give us some fun new things to talk about. Hopefully, I will be a little bit closer to finishing ARR. And, that's where we are. Busy boys. So,
Buzz.
see you later.
Yeah.
Need to get a more smooth outro.
So, good night, everyone.
Yeah, good
I'll
night.
see you later.
And